Everyone, my apologies. We're starting 2 minutes late. That's my fault. It's 5:32 right now. Welcome to the Pacific Grove Unified School District Board of Education regular meeting, Thursday, December 7th, 2023. Opening business tonight. Besides calling to order, I do also want to acknowledge as we begin this meeting that it's very important to pay respect to and acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, Costanoan, and Esalen people, and additionally pay respect to elders both past and present. And with that, can we get roll call, please?
Absolutely. President Swanson,
Here.
Clerk McNary, Dr. Hazen.
Here.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Here.
And Trustee Jennifer McNary. Right.
I go by Laura Otmar.
It's okay. Sorry, I've got the list in front of me. What do I say? Trustee Otmar. Yes.
You can call me Jen the
Thank
rest
you.
of the time. I'll
Yes.
respond. It'll be fine.
Sorry about that. And
Not
yes,
very
Trustee
funny.
Jennifer McNary, and I think we may make note of the fact that she is absent this evening.
Yes, thank you. We do have a quorum tonight with Clerk McNary absent, but the rest of us, all four are here. With that, let's move on to adoption of the agenda. First, we'll do board discussion and go out to the public and see if there's any comments. Board, do you have any discussion on adoption of the agenda tonight? I'm seeing head shaking no. Elliot, are you shaking no as well? Okay.
All good.
Brian, okay. So no board member has anything to add to the adoption of the agenda discussion. As far as public comment, Louis, do we have anyone online with their hand raised? No one? And if there's any member of the public here tonight that would like to make their way up to the podium regarding adoption of the agenda, please do so. Okay, I don't see anyone making their way up. Just for reference, Louis, how many folks do we have online total? 3 online right now. Okay, thank you. And board, I don't believe there's anything that popped in your heads about adopting the agenda, but I'm just double checking. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made by trustee Otmar, seconded by trustee Dr. Hazen. Can we get a vote, please?
President Swanson, do we need to address the changes at this time? agenda?
Yes, if you want to contribute any changes, please do.
Yes, sure, absolutely. So we do have a few that I need to make note of. The first is in your blue folders, you have additional materials specific to the safety updates that we have this evening. There are also cover letters specific to the CSEA Sunshine proposals regarding our collective bargaining process. I know those were emailed to you, but we wanted to make sure you have the hard copies as well. There's also a hard copy of the cover page for the MOU Tech Lead stipend and a hard copy of the MOU PGMS robotics position that we have on the agenda this evening. In addition to that, there was additional paperwork that we received and documents that were submitted this afternoon specific to action item E regarding the complaint concerning instructional materials appeal. And then finally, in your blue folders is information specific to consent item E, which should have been part of consent item D. And the specific paperwork for Pacific Grove Middle School has been included in your folder. And that is it for the changes this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adamson. And any of those items that are appropriate for the public will be posted on the website, correct? Okay. Thank you so much. Board, anything else that you would like to add to the adoption agenda? All right, thank you so much. We did actually have a motion on the table. So if we can get a vote on that, please.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary, Dr. Hazen, Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
and Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And with that, we will move on to our identification of closed session topics. We have 4 items tonight. First is negotiations, collective bargaining session planning and preparation with the PGTA for the 23-24 school year. Number 2, negotiations, collective bargaining session, planning and preparation with CSEA for the 23-24 school year. Number 3, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint, 1 case. Number 4, public employee appointment / employment after school coordinator. Do we have any public comment on closed session topics? We'll give it just a moment in case anybody would like to raise their digital hand online or make their way up to the podium. I'm not seeing anyone doing either. So with that, it's 5:37. We will adjourn to closed session. For our last staff member, thank you all for waiting for us. It's 6:41. Thank you all for coming. You're all welcome. I'm glad to see so many people here. It'll just probably be a couple more minutes. Everyone, thank you so much for your grace and your patience for us for reconvening. We're here now reconvening an open session. It is 6:43 p.m. And I'd like to report on all 4 items that we had for closed session, which I will read now. First item was negotiations, collective bargaining session, planning and preparation with PGTA for the 23-24 school year. The second item was, sorry, my necklace is making a lot of noise. I'm going to take it off. The second item is negotiations, collective bargaining session, planning and preparation with CSEA for 23-24 school year. The third item, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint, 1 case. The fourth item, public employee appointment / employment after school coordinator. On all 4 of these items, no action was taken. Information was received. And with that, Lou Lozano is on the dais this evening. He is our legal counsel. He is the district's lawyer, and I would like to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much, Mr. Lozano. Okay, moving on to the part of the evening where board members share the written communications they received. I'm going to start off. I have a little bit of a lengthy list, so I'm going to read it quickly. These are written communications I received as of today at about 1 p.m. So I'll read them off. NCBI training, incident at PG shoe dance, meet and greet timing, gratitude to Chef Erickson for a field trip, invitation to PGMS volleyball playoffs, proposed change to policy, restorative justice follow-up, kudos to PGHS staff member Becky Goldfinch, kudos to Heather Z, Hethel P, Senora Nunez, and Assembly Committee, invitation to South Valley Middle School grand opening. Thank you and kudos to Buck Rogaman. PGMS incident, Community Human Services Board meeting and introduction, Equine Healing Collaborative. 2 emails regarding Forest Grove and Robert Down combined winter performance. Zero threat incident media inquiry, PGUSD and NCBI collaboration. Firearm related social media references by unauthorized intruder on campus. Questions about safety plan. More information regarding intruder. Follow-up to incident at PGMS. 6 emails regarding intruder at PGHS and PGMS. Recommendation for electrified locks at Robert Down. 2 emails related to safety at PGUSD campuses. Community Human Services CEO evaluation. 5 emails related to curriculum appeal. 1 email about pickleball. I wish I could leave it there on everyone laughing, but there's a couple more. Okay. PGUSD request for PRA 2022 employee compensation. Small district advisory group at CSBA. Dear Martin Book. 3 emails on cultural proficiency evening. Assembly member to visit PGUSD. And with that, those are the emails that I received. So I'll go around and see if any trustee has anything they want to add. I'll just go this way. So Elliot, anything?
That was very thorough.
Thank you. Trustee Otmar, anything?
No, I checked all the boxes. Thank you.
Okay, great. Trustee Brian Swanson, who by the way is not related to myself, Carolyn Swanson. It's just a coincidence. We have the same last name because we have a lot of new
Get a
faces.
mug. I want the mug that actually says
Not related.
no relation. Yeah, not my name anymore, just no relation. Yeah.
Did you have any written communications, Brian?
No, nothing additional.
Okay.
Well covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we'll move on to board member comments. And so we'll kind of go back this way. So we'll start with you, Brian. Go ahead.
A couple of things. I wanted to thank all the staff that were at Forest Grove the other night for the cultural proficiency input. You know, I thought it was really nice just to see how everybody came together as we take our steps through this. I know it's a process and nothing changes overnight. Nothing immediately happens. It's, I think a process of us just, again, communicating, listening to each other. I hope as we move forward through this that we get some more members of the public, because I think the staff outnumbered the public that was there by quite a bit. I know everybody's busy too, but we'll do what we can to push out that information and increase involvement as we go along. So, but I thought it was nice just to see a decent turnout for that. And then I can't not mention this past week at the California School Boards Association's annual education conference. All of us were there, including our new superintendent, Dr. Adamson, and we had a great time. I thought we had some really wonderful team building exercises, and we did go bowling at the end of it all, which was, I think bowling is one of the great equalizers too. And the scores were really close, but it was just the people that they were fairly close. Nobody broke 100. So, but it was.
We weren't supposed to go public with that.
Okay, sorry. Well, if you added everything up, we broke 300, which I don't think usually happens in bowling, as I understand it. But I wish Trustee McNary was here too, just to give props to my fellow board members, because when you get some real time with everybody, it's like it's a nice reminder about, again, why we're here. And I think at the core of it, again, we're all here for the kids. We all have these very unique experiences, but I think it's just a really wonderful group of people that sit up here too. So I appreciate everything that you all gave this past week too. And a nice party, Lou, also. So, yeah. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, Lou was there too. Yeah.
We should have invited you bowling. I'm sorry that we didn't. Yeah.
Trustee Otmar.
I don't have too much to add to that. You covered a lot of it. And just out of respect for everyone that's here and making this meeting as concise and short as possible, I'm going to just refrain from any additional comment.
Thank you so much. Dr. Hazen.
Yeah, just a few quick ones. I was sad to miss the cultural proficiency input session, but I was in Seaside to watch the 8th grade girls basketball team win 36-4. That's not an
Oh,
error. So it's really exciting to see how they're coming along. And like you said about CSB, I mean, one thing I wanted to share is it really lets us understand the latest and greatest issues facing school boards and districts around the state. But one item that really stuck in my craw was the potential role of AI, artificial intelligence, in learning. There's a lot of fear behind it, but a lot of opportunity as well, like virtual tutors, for example. So something I hope to learn more about. And lastly, just to thank John Anderson and everyone that walked around at the middle school just to see what's being done with our Measure D funding right before this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Dr. Hazen. One thing I would like to ask is that if it's okay with the board, if on the next agenda, which is December 14th, it's next week, if we add an agenda item that's like a debrief of our CSBA experiences. We did that last year and thought it was valuable. So if you're okay with that, we can add it and chat more in depth about the public money that we spent to go to a conference and how we brought value back with that. So Dr. Adamson, do you mind making a note of that for a future agenda? Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the superintendent report.
See if I can get this microphone right now. Didn't do so well when we opened up earlier. What I would like to just say, and a very warm welcome to all of you for being here tonight. How wonderful to see this room filled, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I have just a few things I wanted to share out. As I've talked a lot about since I started in this new position, one of the first things that I made as a goal for myself, which I've made very open to everyone, was that my priority in the beginning is really setting relationships and getting a chance to be out there to listen, to learn, and meet with as many of our community members, our students, and our staff as possible. And so that is, I want to just give a quick update on my Listen and Learn tours. I think when I reported out last time, I had met with 22 at that moment. And as of now, it is an additional 29, so 51 people. And that continues to be, I continue to be out there in the community. And I've already, I think with just in the last 2 weeks, key community members from organizations that we're partnering with. I see some of them here this evening, but members from BLAAC, NAACP, PGTA, NCBI, which we've talked a lot about the training that we're going to be partnering with that particular organization, and then just some of our student leadership reps as well. As I'm looking ahead to the next few weeks, I'm going to be meeting with some of our members from our city council, and so again, this is a big part. It's helping me just learn and really truly understand the culture here at Pacific Grove Unified School District. So I'm enjoying that, and I'll continue to give updates. I kind of put my goal out there that I want to, really hit 100 people within my first 90 days, but my goal is still to exceed that. And so again, just thank you all for continuing to be so welcoming, and the grace that you give as I'm taking the time to get to know so much about this incredible district. This particular week was a highlight for sure. I started it out on Monday with 4 of our high school student board reps. So actually 2 of our student reps who are on the board, who unfortunately are not here this evening. They had other duties and scheduling conflicts, but I got to spend it with Dario Dishny and JC DiMaggio, who are both serve on the board, and then also Grace Gorman and Isabella Jones. And we attended the MCOE student board rep training on Monday. And so that was just a delight for me. I got to spend the entire day with them. I drove them in the van. We got to meet many other student board reps from other districts. And really it was a day designed to really talk about governance and really make sure that our student board reps know exactly what their role is. I think out of everything, my favorite moment of that day was driving back and actually hearing them just talk with such inspiration and excitement about their day. And they were so excited about implementing the ideas that they learned. And I think that was wonderful. They are so articulate, and it was incredible for me to actually see the world through their eyes, I think, for that day. So just so much hope and so much to look forward to. I do want to just touch on the topic of safety, and I really just want to say to everyone here, everyone who is online with us, our entire community, that I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for the emails, for the phone calls, for the in-person meetings that I've had the opportunity to have with so many of you who reached out, wanting to express your concerns, wanting to express your gratitude as well. But I think this is a reminder as well that when things do happen that have our community concerned, and safety it's a top priority, and it's really a topic that I know our board and members of our staff want to be able to engage in conversation with you. And so your ability to be able to reach out, share your concerns, share your suggestions and ideas, and being willing to partner with us was a critical component for me being new in this role. And we're excited to be able to share with you that because this is such a priority, you'll see that this is an item and an agenda. It's been agendized on our agenda for this evening, and will be continuing to. You'll see it on the agenda at future meetings as well. Later on tonight, Assistant Superintendent John will be giving you an update, a detailed update on what has taken place, how we have responded to the particular situations at our middle and high school that occurred 3 weeks ago. But in addition to that, the ongoing and long-term plans. So I wanted to be sure you all are aware of that. And again, thank you for being here this evening to be able to hear that. I did want to reach out and just also say thank you to our law enforcement. And I see that our school resource officer Hill is here this evening. And just really thank you for the partnership that we have with PGPD, your ability to be able to partner with us and your collaboration through these situations, but really in the ongoing long-term plan of keeping our schools safe and our students safe is important. And we're grateful for that and for your ongoing work. And then just really for our staff at the school sites. I know our site administrators, our staff, even volunteers at the school site, just for thanking them for being so aware and really doing their part in that. I think situational awareness is something that we talk a lot about, and our ability to be able to be quick thinking and for their ability to be quick on their feet was incredibly important. So that was safety. I really just wanted to take the time to acknowledge that. And I know some of you are here this evening. We'll be hearing from you, and I appreciate that as well. Just to know that's an ongoing conversation, ongoing planning, and we'll continue to work together. And then really, I think the last one was, it's been mentioned just briefly, we had our cultural proficiency input session this last week on Tuesday evening. And just, I want to thank for so many of our community members, our staff, our families who were able to be there that evening to give input. All I want to say on that is that this is an ongoing process. That was our first input session of several that are yet to come. We got a lot of really good feedback through that evening that we will use to really continue to adjust and fine-tune that plan. And we're excited to be able to bring that to the board to a meeting in January with updates on a summary of the feedback that we've received and what the long-term plan is there as well. So I think that's it for my updates this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you then, President Swanson.
Thank you, Dr. Adamson, and thank you for your just unwavering dedication to building relationships. It's apparent and it's appreciated. So thank you for that. Next up is the part of the meeting where we have individuals desiring to address the board on non-agenda items. I'm going to read a quick disclaimer, and then right after that, we're going to start with PGUSD staff comments. Public comment on any item of interest to the public that is within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to the board's action on that item. Any individual wishing to comment on a specific item on the current agenda are kindly asked to wait until that item is being discussed. The board will allow a reasonable amount of time for public comment on each agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item, pursuant to Board Policy 9323. Speakers will be called sequentially until there is no speaker coming forward on the agenda item or the amount of time allocated for the agenda item has elapsed, whichever comes first. This meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. Please note that the Brown Act limits our ability to respond to public comment. The board may choose to direct items to the administration for action or place an item on a future agenda. So with that, any PGUSD staff members who would like to make a comment, if you're here in person, please make your way to the podium. And if you're online, please raise your digital hand and we will alternate between folks who are here in person and folks who are online. I'm not seeing any PGUSD staff members making their way up to, thank you. Okay, we have one.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Arps. I'm the program coordinator at the Pacific Grove Adult School. And I'm usually covering our evening classes, so I usually join these meetings via Zoom. So it's really nice to be here in person. We're starting to wrap up in a couple of weeks our fall session for PG Adult Ed. And it's been a really great session. So Principal Martinez and I thought we'd just give a brief update. First, we want to thank Dr. Adamson for a visit last week. It really meant a lot to the students, the parents, the teachers, our staff. We're glad we got to, give you a little glimpse into the impact we're making. Just some updates first about our Without Walls program, which is for our students with disabilities. As you may know, they have been enrolled in Monterey Peninsula College classes and going there both to participate in classes and also some of them have jobs there. So they just started receiving their first paychecks and they've been very, very excited about that. And we're partnering with the work experience program there at MPC. And they're getting to participate in things like workshops for resume writing and interview practice, that kind of thing. So that's a really valuable partnership. They also have been getting their food handlers cards to prepare them for jobs or careers in the culinary or hospitality sectors, if they're interested in that. As far as our ESL program goes, it was really exciting this week. Our beginning ESL class, those who are just starting out to learn English, gave end of session presentations on their countries and their cultures. And it was really, really impressive, not only because they're making a lot of progress in their English skills, but it was just a beautiful example. You know, we talk about cultural proficiency, and it was a beautiful example of seeing that in practice. I mean, just in one class, there are students from Russia and Ukraine who now are like dear friends, and students from Iran and Afghanistan, Syria, Brazil, El Salvador, Mexico. Anyway, it's beautiful to see that. And that happens in all of our ESL classes all the time, fostering sort of that cross-cultural community. We also have several students who are getting ready to pass their high school diploma and high school equivalency tests. So we're hoping to have several finished by the end of this session, and hopefully around a dozen by the end of the year will have their diploma. So that's really exciting. And before I run out of time, our catalog comes out tomorrow for our winter session that starts in January. Sorry. And registration starts next Wednesday at 8 a.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Kristen Arps. Louis, do we have any online members who would like to speak? Okay. I do see Dr. Hagquist making their way up.
Good evening, Larry Hagquist, Pacific Grove High School. Just wanted to share out some of the things that are happening at Pacific Grove High School. Last week, we had the opening of the school play, The Play That Goes Wrong. If you haven't seen it already, it's hilarious. And it's going on again this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee at 2 p.m. On Friday and Saturday, it's at 7 p.m. And shout out to Aaron Vasquez, teacher who's putting that on with his students. It's just really hilarious and lots of students involved and a great event. We had a dance showcase last Friday in the student union. We also had, you know, we're in season with several sports. We had Lorley Gaona, who took how many 31 students, I believe it was, to close up in Washington, D.C. And she made it through several subway stops with only leaving one student maybe at one station. No, but it was that's quite a trip close up. We also had several students with CCS awards in George Warren's music program. We had 4 of 5 section leaders at CCS were from Pacific Grove High School. We had 4 additional students making the cut. What else do we have? We have lots going on. We have tomorrow Sacramento State Jazz Festival. And then, as I mentioned, the drama production going on. So those are some activities at PGHS. And thanks to Dr. Adamson for taking our students, 4 of our students, to the student board training. She drove them out there, and it was, I got great reports back from the students. They really loved it.
Thank you, Dr. Hagquist. Lewis, you're letting me know that there are not any PGUSD staff members desiring to address the board online. I don't see anyone here in public making their way up to the podium at this time. So we'll close out PGUSD staff member comments on non-agenda items. Next up is community members who would like to address the board on non-agenda items. And I know, oh, good, we've got someone who's raised their hand online, and I know that we have Mr. Coach Alex here who would perhaps like to make your way up to the podium and make a comment.
I have something.
Yes, good evening, President Swanson, trustees, Dr. Adamson, Assistant Superintendent Shorn, and members of the audience. I'm Dr. Tom Moore, President of the Monterey Peninsula Soccer League. A number of you know that for the past 11 years, the MPSL has been running a fundraising program primarily targeted for the boys and girls high school soccer teams at PG High School. Through the magic of the internet, I'm hoping that Frank Giraldo, and I see that Alex Lowen, the assistant coach for the high school team, is there. I'm hoping Frank Giraldo's there because he is the one who is supposed to be dropping off checks the amount of
Yeah.
7,000.
He is here.
Frank is here.
He is
He's
here.
hiding, but he's here.
Well, come on up to the podium, Frank. So we have checks, one each for each team in the amount of $7,610.
Wow.
Over the past 11 years, when we started the program in 2010, that brings our fundraiser to $126,358.27.
So Tom, on behalf of the soccer team, we wanted just to thank you for that, extremely generous donation. We've got a good young group of people who are extremely enthusiastic about the sport. We've just started our preseason. We just came from a game just now against Watsonville, which we managed to get a draw against them. So it's much appreciated. We'll use it extremely sensibly, for equipment and things that the team needs. And yeah, thank you on behalf of everybody. And I'm sure, the same for Frank in terms of his thoughts.
Sure. Tom, thanks. It's been great working with you for the last 8 years since I've been here at PG High. These funds have really helped equip our teams to a really high level in terms of uniforms, equipment, et cetera. So it's been a great partnership. Appreciate it.
We did have the team yesterday. When we told them the news, they did create a short video in our locker room. So I'm not sure if we can show that, but a little message from them as well for you.
Thank you.
That is absolutely awesome. Well, we do like to maintain close contact with the school district. And as many of you know, former trustee Path used to play in the league. And when he retired, we cast about desperately looking for someone else with a close connection. And this past fall season, we were able to welcome Officer Hill to one of our teams. Although the bad news from my perspective is she's on a different team and I cannot get the damn ball away from her. At any rate, we enjoy this program and thank you very much for accepting the funds from the Monterey Peninsula Soccer League.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your public comment and your contributions. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Any other community members who are here tonight who would like to comment on non-agenda items? This is your time. Please don't be shy. We would love to hear from you. Okay. We don't have anyone with their digital hand up, and I don't see anyone in the audience making their way up to the podium. So with that, we will close out community member non-agenda item public comment at this time. Moving on to our agenda, which by the way, there are a couple hard copies in the lobby. Or if you'd like to grab one, there's also, it's available online. We're on page 3 of the agenda. Next up is information discussion item A, which is a district safety update, and I'll pass that over to staff.
Thanks, President Carolyn. So in the past, the district was doing quarterly updates on safety. Our director of safety, Principal Barbara Martinez, has been doing that for us in the past. About 6 months ago, when the district entered into a contract with MC Kimball and Associates, who began doing monthly district updates. They go out over our catapult messaging, email to staff, and then we were reporting out at the board. So I've got quite a few things to cover tonight, so bear with me. As I mentioned, Kimball and Associates was hired last year to develop safety plans and protocols for district-wide threat and risk assessment, specifically to have professional assistance to PGUSD with safety meetings. They were hired to do drill observations, preparatory planning for our Big 5 safety drills, and the evaluation and reporting, which was the after-action reports associated with our drill observations. To date this year, actually last year, they started doing this for us actually in the spring. It was only done at 2 of the elementary schools. We completed 5 drill observations and 5 after-action reports last spring. They began doing that for us this fall, and I'll cover a lot of that moving forward throughout my report. But our sites go through 10 drills a year, and 5 of those drills are observed by Kimball and Associates. I did attach a schedule, so it's linked on the website, you can see the attached schedule for all of the drill observations that Kimball and Associates is doing within our district. PGUSD, of course, is a Big 5 school district, and as such, we utilize the following protocols: shelter in place, secure campus, evacuation, drop, cover, and hold, lockdown, barricade. And as I mentioned, MC Kimball and Associates observes all 5 drills, brings back after action reports to our site council, and those are discussed, and then there's implementation factors associated. PGUSD subscribes to the Think on Your Feet Pete protocols, as well as See Something, Say Something. In the event of an emergency, of course, we ask for quick thinking for our folks. During crisis, it's imperative that individuals must think on their feet and determine the best course of action. I believe that that has taken place over the course of many different incidents that have occurred in this district in the past 2 years that I've been here and beyond. So again, it's crucial that our staff is thinking on their feet. Our students are thinking on their feet, and so are our administrators when situations arise. The choices we have associated are to get off campus. That's one thing that we train our students and staff on. That's the primary component of what we train our students on, students and staff on for any sort of an active threat on our campus, active shooter. Get off campus, don't be there. We train them on hiding techniques, lockdown and barricade techniques, and then fighting against an assailant or an intruder. That's the most extreme circumstances. We're bringing forward the See Something, Say Something anonymous reporting tool. As I mentioned, this district has been a See Something, Say Something district, but we've been missing the anonymous reporting tool. That reporting tool will be brought forward to the board for consideration at our next board meeting on December 14th. That will be a contract that the district may enter into with Sandy Hook Promise, and that is a no-cost MOU to the district to implement the anonymous reporting tool. Staff and students, of course, they're encouraged to call 911 in the event of an emergency, and we have non-emergency numbers for reporting as well for a non-emergency event. All PGUSD classrooms for years now have had, all exterior doors have had lock blocks installed in them. So the question might be, what's a lock block? When you have a door handle that needs to be locked or unlocked with a key, that takes away time in the event of emergency from closing the door, barricading, and so forth. So the district's installed lock blocks on the doors. Those lock blocks are engaged. The door handles stay locked, so it basically keeps the door just cracked in the event of an emergency, a lockdown, shelter in place, or a secure campus. The lock block is pulled, the door is shut. The staff member doesn't have to fumble for their keys to try to lock a door handle. So those have been installed for about 8 years now. Staff have been accommodated with lock blocks for additional ventilation by leaving some doors ajar. Sites are being provided with additional lock blocks and keys based on the identified needs throughout the district. PGUSD, when faced with a situation that requires the utilization of Big Five protocol, believes in the reflection, analysis, and collaboration with our experts. That's where we get together with Pacific Grove Police Department, our entire administrative team, and we develop an after-action debriefing. Any single event that occurs in this district, we do an after-action debriefing, we share that information with the public, and then we take decisive steps moving forward based on the outcome of that briefing. One example I'm going to bring up here tonight, one that I'm sure a lot of folks are here to talk about, is the front door at Pacific Grove Middle School being left open during school hours. We immediately took decisive action. All doors to that campus are to be locked during school hours. Electrified hardware and two-way communication will be installed at the office because, as we all know, Pacific Grove Middle School's office is on the second floor. There's already a doorbell there, and there was already a camera in place. So we're waiting for the electrified hardware, which will allow the staff up in the office to basically push a button, communicate with whoever's at the door over the two-way comms and camera system, and the button will open the door so they're not running up and down the stairs all day long. PGUSD staff and admin have been practicing for some time now, stopping bypassers through our campuses and giving them an initial admonishment for trespassing. Second offenders will contact law enforcement. PGUSD is looking into securing the community use of the Breaker Stadium during school hours. Those of you that are part of the community and have been here for some time, you may notice and you may use the Breaker Stadium field during school hours. We see people running the track, bicycles, which are not supposed to be on the track, or out on the track during school hours. We have a lot of folks passing through our campuses. It can be 10 to 15 a day. It can be more. Our elementary campuses are fully secured. Our middle school campus is now fully secured. Our high school campus has bypassers all day long. I was on campus last week and I stopped somebody that was walking from Sunset to Forest Grove to pick up their student. And basically I was told, "I'm sorry, I've been doing this forever. Do something about it," essentially. I told them they would be admonished for trespassing. And unfortunately, the next time we would have an interaction, it would be with law enforcement present. District infrastructure upgrades. So a lot of what Kimball and Associates is preparing for us, which that report will come out in January, is associated with recommendations for district infrastructure. However, I mentioned if we see an issue, we want to take care of that issue immediately and not wait for the report to come out via Kimball and Associates. The final product we'll be bringing forward is an executive summary. That executive summary will be brought to the board for consideration. There will be a list of projects associated with that executive summary, as well as change of protocols for this district to follow. If the board so desires to implement every single one of them, then we'll have to develop a phasing plan for implementation. Some of the desired infrastructure I know that we've heard about lately is things such as additional gates, additional lighting, camera systems, and so forth. I'd like to mention this publicly. Gates tend to keep people inside and not keep folks from coming in. There are a lot of things that we can do on our campuses to better secure our campuses, and Director Algazi, myself, we're looking into other systems associated with camera systems, such as geofencing. I'll talk about that briefly, as well as analytics on our camera systems. So geofencing essentially draws an invisible line. The camera system tells you when somebody crosses that line, and it gives a notification to our campus supervisors. Just one example of some of the things that we're considering bringing forward that I know is being discussed and potentially recommended through Kimball and Associates. I want to go over the district communication norms with everyone tonight. PGUSD is always timely in our communication and staff via Catapult and via email if it's for our staff. We review all incidents and provide staff with updates in a timely manner. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time because, as I mentioned before, we have to debrief with law enforcement before we can release all information. We respond to all parent inquiries and community inquiries in a timely manner, usually within the day, if not within 24 hours. PGUSD communication has a communication established with law enforcement, emergency and non-emergency, through 911 and through our 8x8 system. That is our voice over IP phone system. Anytime a 911 call is made at a school site, every single administrator is notified via email. We also have a fantastic relationship with Pacific Grove Police Department that goes back for a very long time, multiple SROs, very thankful for SRO Hills, who's here tonight. We have a very close relationship with them. We're talking with them daily as it pertains to the safety of our campuses. And then one of the components of the Kimball and Associates threat and risk assessment was, of course, to interview the chief of police, interview law enforcement officers within our boundary area and help come up with additional recommendations for safety protocols. Finally, I want to conclude with what it is Kimball and Associates is doing. We have a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3 approach. It's all listed in the attached document, which you all have a copy of. We've finished all 3 phases at this point. So phase 1 included a development of the top 10 staff concerns through interviews. We developed a SWOT analysis, which is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We did an active shooter readiness and response assessment. Phase 2, they did a perimeter analysis and assessment, drone assessment of every single school site in the district. Custodial staff and community members were surveyed and interviews were conducted. We did a day and a night survey assessment with drones, as well as walking of the perimeter and documenting and noting any of the potential threat issues within our school sites. They've done a crime prevention analysis, which is called a CPTED analysis. They performed a natural hazard disclosure analysis for us. And then finally, in phase 3, they began doing interior facility assessments and interior school grounds assessments, and the findings for those will be associated with infrastructure upgrades for our school sites. At the end of this entire assessment process, as I mentioned before, we'll bring this forward to the board for approval. But that doesn't stop there. I mean, we're going to continue moving forward. There will always be new and innovative ways to secure our campuses. This is a community-built school system. It's unlike many that I've worked in throughout the state of California, where we do have open campuses. And I think that's a discussion point that needs to be held in an open forum with our board of trustees, with our community members, to determine what it is the district's going to do moving forward to better secure our campuses. It may not mean fencing. It might mean things like geofencing and analytics with cameras. It could mean other things. The district does its due diligence with professional development. Right now, we're working with Monarch Peninsula Unified School District and Carmel Unified to develop an annual campus supervisor training. That's a statutory requirement, but we're trying to broaden our campus supervisors' exposure by exposing them to other campus supervisors within the boundary areas, or our boundary school districts. All PG staff is trained on Big 5 protocols annually at the beginning of the school year. It's been done by Principal Martinez in the past. Updates with parents and communities is accomplished related to Big 5 through your school site principal and their communications platform. Communication radio checks are done monthly. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation here, school sites do 10 drills a year. That's 2 drills per Big 5 protocol. And 5 of them are observed by Kimball and Associates. I think the big takeaway from the drill observations has been that there are issues within our district that, when you get into the practice of just drilling to build muscle memory, but not reflecting upon what it is that you've done and maybe where there's gaps in your system and within your protocol, it's very easy to lose sight of that. So having well, I wouldn't say impartial, but a third party on site that's made up of law enforcement entity, first and foremost. Kimball and Associates brought in retired law enforcement from our community to do these assessments and to do the drill observations. And every single one of the drill observations is followed up with an after action report whereby we have staff input. And I think that's crucial. I don't think that was something that was happening prior to the last couple of years. And there's been many improvements facility related that we're now entertaining based on those after action reports and input from our staff. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Adamson, did you have anything?
I think I would just want to add thank you to Assistant Superintendent John. And, he mentioned it repeatedly throughout the report, but this is not something that's just suddenly being worked on now. I think, the district has had the foresight, definitely prior to my coming, but this has been sort of a work in progress for the last couple of months, even year. And I really want to, just attribute so much and credit so much of that work to Assistant Superintendent John. I know that one of our principals, Barbara, as well, has also been very much involved, in that and really sort of helping and lead and be a team in that process. But really, as you go through the list, I think it's important for us to just take the time to acknowledge and see so much of the work that's not only, in progress currently, but is forthcoming. And I think ultimately the bottom line is it's going to remain a priority, and it's going to be something we will continue to be addressing and talking about. And I look forward to hearing the Kimball report. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you, Dr. Adamson. And thank you also at the agenda meeting for having us put the district safety update as its own item on the agenda so that we can talk about it in depth and not just during public comment or superintendent's report. So thank you for that. With that, we're actually gonna move on. However, let me just ask Lou a quick procedural question. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item, whether in person or online? We would really like to hear from you. So if you're here tonight and would like to comment on district safety, now is the time. Please feel comfortable getting up to the podium.
My name is Kelly Nix. I'm a writer, not a public speaker, so I'm going to be reading this. The incidents at PG Middle and PG High in which a mentally ill man with a lengthy criminal record who was able to simply wander onto the campuses unchecked was not only a wake-up call, it was a call to action, in my opinion. We must do more to protect our children, and I know we are, thanks to Josh and the team. First off, while it's not a perfect solution, the high school seems to need a fence or a geofence or something like that to keep people out. Secondly, we need more school resource officers to protect our children, preferably one for each school. By all accounts, school resource officer Andrea Hill is doing a wonderful job, but she's only one person. I hope the district will consider hiring more SROs. These measures and others that the consultant will soon recommend will likely be very expensive, but the district must pursue all options to keep our children safe. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comment, Kelly Nix. Anyone else here wishing to come up and speak at the podium on district safety? Mr. Gibbs, please feel welcome to do so.
Board, my name is Mike Gibbs. I'm resident of Pacific Grove. I wasn't really going to say anything, but I guess listening to Mr. Jordan's report, a couple of questions. One is Kimball and Associates has done drills and they've been on campus and they've gone through it. I'm just wondering, I didn't hear, and maybe there's a report somewhere I didn't see, but it sounds like, I don't know if a breakdown is the right word, but I'm not sure what happened. You've had the protocols, you've had the training, but somehow this individual with a criminal record, as I understand it, wandered around at least one school and maybe two. So I would like to have an explanation, and maybe there is one, you can refer me to a report of where the breakdown was. The second thing is that it's a very difficult job. My wife and I have run an education program for 15 years. We run it on other people's campuses. We run it at Stanford and Santa Clara University, and they're open campuses. And we have underage kids, so they're age 11 to 15, and we're very concerned about their safety. All of our employees wear a badge, but we train our employees on the first day, even though we're on a Stanford campus. There's a lot of weird stuff going on at Stanford campus and other campuses. And so if somebody wanders into the building that we're inhabiting or into the classroom that we're using, they are instructed to immediately, if the person is not wearing some kind of badge or identification, to escort them out into the hall and ask, what they're doing there and what's the plan. And sometimes they happen to be Stanford or Santa Clara employees. They're just simply not wearing their badge. And then, they're not happy with us, but I don't really care about that because my first job is the safety of the kids. And if they don't have an appropriate answer, they're asked to walk them out or call security or call me or another staff member and take care of it. So just the two things, I don't know what the protocol is for staff to stop somebody on campus. Apparently, Principal Alito stopped them and escorted them out. Good. But how did they get there in the first place and where was the breakdown? So that's just my observation. I agree with Mr. Nix. The security should be upgraded. I don't know if the school district has a security person. I don't know if that's a staff person. I understand you have an SRO, Officer Hill, and I was here when Chief Matalone was talking about this. I'm fully in support of that, and I don't know if it should be expanded or not, but maybe there needs to be a district, PGUSD district security person on staff. I don't know.
I'm not sure if that's, I haven't thought about it. So anyway, thank you for what you do. Welcome to Superintendent Adamson for this is your second meeting, and and I may be contacting you to see if we can set up a meeting and get you toward your goal of 100 people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs, and you're always within 3 minutes. I always appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you do have some valid questions. We'll have a staff member follow up with you. And for anyone listening at home, we also have a PGUSD tab on our website that is dedicated to safety, and that has a lot of information as well. Any other members of the public wishing to come up and comment? Please.
To all of you, Northrop Kirk, PTSA, PG Middle School. Just curious on learning on how long it took to implement these changes to the PG Middle School currently with the camera and letting one person in. Curious on knowing, I mean, how doors can be open. Stuff's been going on for 30 years. And we're so lucky that nothing happened. And I'm happy changes are occurring and you guys are working on it. And I'm proud of you for doing it. But I'd like to hear a timeline of what occurred and how we can learn from that timeline of what happened when the intruder came onto the campuses and went to additional campuses, and can we communicate with those campuses and just make it a more secure environment? A lot of parents concerned. Glad you're taking action. I'm glad that we're not having to deal with tragedy. So God bless us all.
Thank you very much for your comment tonight. We value it. Can we have a staff member also follow up? Thank you so much. Thank you. Louis, it looks like we have one person online who would like to contribute a comment. Please go ahead and unmute them.
Hi, good evening. My name is Masha Sertunch, and I also would like to chime in on the security issue, if I may. I probably will be in the unpopular part here because, yes, we had a security failure, and we really need to be more aware of what's happening on campus. However, PG prides itself on being a small community, and putting up a fence, especially around high school, will kind of break the spirit of it. We are very lucky that nothing happened, but also the fence might not prevent a tragedy if somebody wants to do something. I mean, I work at a secure place and still, things happen. During COVID teaching, learning time, you had people on high school campus in visible places turning people away. And that was very effective. I was trying to cut through the campus to go to Lucky's or something, and I was very promptly, but very politely, asked to leave. So could that be a simpler solution to this problem? Because just putting up a wall, our kids walk to school, unsupervised most of the time. So I think we're talking more of a community involvement, see something, say something type of a thing. And rightfully, I think Mr. Gibbs said visible badges for person being on campus really will make a big difference. That's all. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry that we are dealing with this. It's going to be a community effort to overcome it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment, Masha Sertunch. Anyone else wishing to comment tonight? Please feel comfortable doing so. We're here. This is your time to come up and give public comment. So, one more online. Go ahead, Ricky.
Sorry, it's actually Nadine. I just realized I never changed my husband's name on there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just kind of want to echo the last 4 speakers on everything that they said. I know Mr. Jorn had said, a fence would kind of keep everyone inside in case there was an emergency, you know, people wouldn't be able to leave. But I kind of disagree on that part, because I know as gates, you know, they're not locked from the inside. There's a bar that people could push out and leave that way. So it deters people from coming in, but yet you can still get out. So I just wanted to make a comment on that. I also wanted to make a comment that I know everyone's going through, you know, Kimball and Associates and get their expertise opinion, but this has been going on with PGUSD for years. I mean, our last SRO and our last director of facilities in 2017, I believe in 2018, they came out, and even, you know, you guys say you have a great relationship with PGPD, but I find that hard to believe that you guys are saying that, because like I said, in 2017, 2018, they both came and they both had showed, you know, an agenda with, you know, more security, more fences, and even on the SRO side, PGPD back then said, you know, we could secure, we could monitor, we could only do so much, but without proper perimeter, you know, it makes it harder for them. And so back then it was kind of just dismissed. Back then also at the middle school, this doorbell camera, all of that was installed. And as soon as it was installed, it was taken down because office staff members, it was too much for them to deal with. So that's a waste of money and a resource. And now here we are again. And again, I'm kind of echoing what everyone said. How did this guy walk on campus several times? The see something, say something obviously didn't work. I mean, everyone's been trained to do that and it didn't work. And it's just mind blowing that here we are, we're still talking about see something, say something, but this was a perfect opportunity for staff members or whoever saw this person walking to say something, and that didn't happen. So I think this is a delay tactic, looking into geofencing and proper cameras in certain positions, because we've already gone through all this.
Thank you very much for your comment, Nadine Roldan. I believe I saw emails going back and forth with Dr. Adamson and Nadine. So I do believe, Nadine, that you're going to have a follow-up and perhaps be able to meet with Dr. Adamson on this. So thank you very much. Oh, we have one more person online who would like to comment. Okay.
Yeah, hi. I was just would like to make a comment in regards the incident that happened, because I think we didn't hear from it until the second incident, and I was wondering if there would be a possibility of a little bit more transparency towards the parents, because I understand when you say if you see something, say something, but if we don't know that it happened or what we should look for or keep an eye for, it's really hard for us to be aware and keep our children safe. And thank you for all you do, but that was just my only concern.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. Do you mind, you don't have to, but do you mind sharing your name so we can follow up with you and answer your questions? And if you don't feel comfortable sharing your name in this public forum, you can send Dr. Adamson an email at ladamson, ADAMSON @pgusd.org, and she will follow up with you. She's
Okay, thank you. And yeah, my name is Jessica Contreras.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll make a note. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
Louis, anyone else online? Oh, yes, please. If there's someone in person, we try to alternate between in person and online. So please.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Nix. I did not plan on speaking tonight, so I'm like, oh my God. But I am, besides being a parent of a PG high school student, I'm also a teacher in the Monterey Unified District. And I just wanted to, I mean, obviously our children, that's our most precious commodity. But just speaking as a teacher and a staff member of a different district too, when Sandy Hook happened, I had a parent come up to me the next day and say, I'm just so blessed to know that you would lay down your life to protect my child. And I remember taking that in and thinking to myself, well, would I? I have my own child. Like, would I do that? And that was a really hard pill to swallow and to think. And I just wanted to say something besides obviously the children, to give the staff and the teachers the comfort and understanding that they are safe too, because they have to be the ones to protect and they have to be the ones to be the adult in that room. And they need to know that you're doing everything for them too. So that's just what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Louis, do you see anyone else? Okay, with that, thank you all so much for coming, contributing your comments. You'll be hearing from our staff members. And if you don't hear from us, please circle back and reach out to us, because it's not on purpose. It's just that maybe we're just all human. So please do, if you don't hear from us, reach back out. Okay. Thank you. We're going to move on now to our consent agenda. Let me ask Lou another question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so next we're moving on to our consent agenda. And this items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and may have been discussed at a previous board meeting. There's typically not much discussion of these items prior to the board vote unless a member of the board requests specific items be discussed and or removed from consent agenda. So with that, I'm actually going to go first on consent agenda, and I would just like to pull item A. It's the minutes from the November 16th meeting. As I was reading over the packet as a board member, I just noticed there was quite a bit missing, some of it not accurate, and I just wanted to give staff time to bring it back to the December 14th meeting. So I'd like to pull consent item A. Is there another board member who would like to pull any other consent item? No? Okay, I'm seeing trustee Swanson shaking head, Dr. Hazen shaking head. Okay, Elliot. Okay, so with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda with the amendment of the removal of consent A and bringing that back on December 14th, if that's okay with Dr. Adamson.
It's absolutely perfect, and we will bring it revised. Yes. To next
Okay.
week's. Thank you.
So as long as so that's my motion. If the board would like to second, please do, or if the board would like to make a separate motion, please do.
Wondering can you provide some clarity just as to are there certain items from the minutes of the last one that were unclear? I'm just trying to find out where we're going with that.
Yeah, so when I was reading it over, there's some clerical errors and then some substantive omissions. So for instance, I wasn't at the last meeting. It said I was. I wasn't at the last meeting. It said that I made a motion. So there's just things in it that I think it would be great if we had time to just kind of go over and make sure that the entire document is accurate. It would be great. Dr. Adamson may want to contribute more. I let her know in advance, so she was able to kind of look at it as well.
Yeah, I was able to review them this afternoon and catch a few of those errors. And so, yeah, we will absolutely correct them. Yeah.
All right. I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Can we get a majority vote, please? Oh.
All in favor?
Sorry, Dr. Adamson. I
Okay.
jumped ahead tonight. I forgot to ask for public comment on consent.
Okay.
Lou, let me know. If there's any public comment on consent, either here or at home, please do raise your digital hand or make your way up to the podium. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, we have our motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Can we get a majority vote, please?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to public hearing 1/action discussion item A. So first up is public hearing of Pacific Grove Unified School District's initial sunshine proposals regarding collective bargaining agreement negotiations with California School Employees Association, also referred to as CSEA. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:47. And with that, this is the time now for any member of the public to make a comment on this item. Same as all of our other public comments. If you're at home, please raise your digital hand. And if you're here in person, please make your way up to the podium. We would love to hear from you. Okay, and while we wait, this item doesn't go to the board for discussion because it's the public hearing, but the very, very next item on the agenda is where the board can make discussion on this item. So if there's any trustees who would like to make a comment, you will in just a moment. Thank you, Louis. With that, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:48 p.m. And we're going to move on to the action discussion item A, which is approval of the Pacific Grove Unified School District's initial sunshine proposals regarding collective bargaining agreement negotiations with California School Employees Association, otherwise known as CSEA. Board, do you have any discussion items you'd like to contribute to this? None?
Yeah, no concern with the items presented.
Okay.
Nope,
Trustee
I'm
Brian?
good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will move out to public comment because this is an action item. So we're just going to ask if there's any member of the public that would like to comment on this item. And I know Louis has his eyes online and there's no one raising their hand. And there's no one here making their way to the podium. So with that, can we get a motion on staff's recommendation for approval of the PGUSD initial sunshine proposals regarding collective bargaining agreement negotiations with CSEA?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve.
Great, I'll second. Motion made by Dr. Hazen, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Can we get a majority vote, please?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, public hearing 2. Public hearing of California School Employees Association, CSEA, initial sunshine proposals regarding collective bargaining agreement negotiations 23-24 school year. We're going to open the public hearing. It is 7:50. And please, if there's anyone here who would like to make a public comment on this, now is your time. Anyone online or in person? Okay. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing at 7:50. We're into action discussion, and we're on to action discussion item B, which is renewal contract for financial advisory services with Dale Scott and Company for fiscal years 23-24 through 2027 through 2028. And Josh Jordan, this is your, okay. You know what? I actually had in the board agenda to take a break right after this item. And we've had some folks come and go. So if the board is agreeable, can we take a 5-minute break and come back at 7:56? Okay, thank you so much. We're on action discussion item B, which is renewal contract for financial advisory services with Dale Scott and Company. And Mr. Jordan, this is your item.
Thank you, President Carolyn. So this is a routine item. Dale Scott has been providing bond oversight, fiscal advisory services for the district for, I believe, 16 years now. As you can see in your packet, there's a new contract we're bringing forward, term of 5 years. You'll also note that the only 2 changes or amendments to the contract this time around is the voter survey research and pre-election services for the district. Aside from that, the bond issuance services is something, as I mentioned before, that he's been doing for 16 years for this district. This is a building fund, Fund 21 expenditure. I open it up for questions.
Thank you so much. Trustee Dr. Hazen, would you like to contribute any questions?
Yeah, no questions on this. Thanks for the clear presentation. Packet.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
You said 5 years, right? And you may have said this too, because I was not quite paying attention. Was it 5 years before too?
I believe it was a 4-year contract before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all. I'm fine with 5 too. So thank you.
Trustee Otmar, anything?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a clarifying question. I was reading that on page 61, the bond issuance services, that he charges $75,000 for a 5-year term of future GEO bond series issuance. And then I was reading in his in the actual contract that so to me, when I read that, it sounded like it was $75,000 for like the overall bond issuance services. And we have like, our series ABCD. So I was thinking 75,000 for 4. But when I was reading it in his contract, it sounded like 75,000 for each. So can you clarify? Do you know?
Right. Yeah, it's the $105,000 contract is for 5 years. And you're right, in his contract, it says a fee of 75,000 per series. So that is not what we've been paying thus far. So I can clarify or I mean, if the board approves the contract tonight, we can make an amendment to the contract prior to executing it on the district's behalf.
Maybe I'm always hesitant to approve a contract before it's clarified. That's just my own kind of way of doing things. So do you mind? Well, I would like it to be clarified. It's a big difference to me. If it's 75,000 times 4 or just 75,000. So,
Right. Yeah, and at this point, it would be 75,000 for the remaining 2 issuance of series associated with Measure D, the initial Measure D.
yeah.
So yeah, that does require clarity. Good question.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind bringing it back on the 14th.
Okay. Is the rest of the board okay with that? Okay. Laura, are you okay with that?
I mean, tonight's just the approval. The contract would not be executed unless that was clarified, correct?
That's correct. So if the contract amount of $105,000 is in excess of, I mean, if this contract is in excess of $105,000, I'd have to bring it back anyway to the board.
I'm okay with approval tonight with the understanding that it would be clarified before execution.
I'm thinking about how I feel about it now. Okay. Thank you for bringing up that point, Trustee Otmar. So let's go out to the public for public comment at that point. Or did I miss you, Trustee Brian?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm more in favor of bringing it back. Just again, I think it, so the public has eyes on it too, just so because it'll be quick when we come back, I think, just so we have it clarified and we can knock it out. But I'd rather we'd make sure that we know exactly and that the public sees what we're doing, and bring it back that way.
Thank you. Any other trustees want to contribute before we go out to public comment? No? Okay. Louis, will you keep your eye online if anybody raises their digital hand? And then please, if there's anyone here in public who would like to come up to the podium, we really, truly welcome your comments. So please come up. I don't see anyone in person. And Louis, no one online? Okay. With that, we'll close out public comment for this. I would like to just give direction to bring it back with clarity. And not vote on it tonight. So that's where I stand. I'll go around. Trustee Brian.
I'm fine with that unless somebody wants to. I mean, somebody of course could make a motion if they wanted to for us to approve it. I don't think it'll go through, but
Sure.
But we do have that option.
Certainly. Trustee Otmar.
I'm fine if it comes back. It's just more of a clarification. So yeah, it makes sense being transparent. I'd prefer to do that. Thank you, Brian.
Dr. Hazen?
Yep, same.
Okay. So we'll see this back probably next week or maybe the next one. Okay, thank you so much. Next up, memorandum of understanding with PGTA regarding teacher tech lead stipends. This is a Director Rogaman item. And the next two are also your item, Director Rogaman. So if you want to,
So get comfortable.
I mean, just
Yes.
if you wanted to.
Thank you very much. Trustees, I'm Buck Rogaman, the Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, also serve as the lead negotiator for the district with our negotiations with the Pacific Grove Teachers Association. This memorandum of understanding would increase the stipend amount from $800 to $1,000 for those teachers that serve as the teacher tech lead. It is an item that was brought forward by the district, and PGTA has agreed to increase that stipend amount for this year and this year only, feeling as though there is still some more clarification that needs to be made for the reason why we're giving a 25% increase from $800 to $1,000. We think we can get that resolved in negotiations, but it will not become part of the collective bargaining agreement in the future until we do come to that agreement. This, however, would put in effect the $1,000 total for this year, 2023, 2024. With that, I'll entertain any questions from the board.
Thank you so much, Director Rogaman. We'll start with Trustee Brian Swanson, please.
No questions. Trust you guys know what you're doing and it seems completely practical.
Thank you.
Dr. Hazen?
Yep, ditto what Trustee Swanson said. I'm in support.
Okay, Trustee Otmar?
Same for me. Yep.
Thank you. We'll go out for public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to speak is welcome to do so. If you're online, please raise your digital hand. And if you're here in person and would like to say anything, we are here to listen. Excellent. We have Mrs. Chavez working their way up to the podium.
Erica Chavez, kindergarten at Robert Down. I just want to put in our awareness that with the current establishment of a split adoption at the elementary school, which means K2 uses Super Kids curriculum and 3-5 use something else, that as long as the tech lead is not, they may not be savvy with both adoptions. So a tech lead is super helpful with the grade levels of which they participate in the same adoption. But I've gone to, and this is not against any person, just in general, this may be something to be thinking about moving forward in leaning away from a split adoption so that the tech lead can be helpful to everybody at the same site equally. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica Chavez. I'm going to ask Director Rogaman the question, but it came because of your comment. Can you clarify what Mrs. Chavez was talking about there?
Sure, that for TK through second grade, the English language arts curriculum that we're currently using is called Super Kids by the publisher Zaner Bloser. And right now we're using Benchmark Advanced for grades 3 through 5. So it's a different publisher. It's not by the same for grades TK through 5. Right now we're looking at a new adoption. We're doing a pilot. And there are 2 different programs that we're looking at. Both of the programs that we're looking at are available TK through 5. However, we are looking only at doing an ELA adoption for grades 3 through 5 at this time. That was based on data and information that we received in a survey that we sent out to the elementary teaching staffs.
Thank you. So as it currently stands, do we need 2 teacher tech leads for each elementary? Is because there's 2 different curriculums? Is that what that means? How many tech leads are we talking
I think
about?
that's the kind of question that we would want to talk about as a staff rather than have a decision made at the school board level.
Okay. Now I have more questions.
Currently, we are
Okay.
budgeted to have 1 teacher tech lead at each one of our sites.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So this would be, this MOU for the teacher tech lead stipend would currently apply to 4 teacher tech leads.
Correct, and they are currently serving in that role now.
Okay, that is very helpful to me. Thank you so much. Board, did you have any follow-up questions or anything further?
Yeah, well, just one follow-up is, I mean, would it be well beyond their duties if they are a TK through 2 to learn the 3 through 5 software? I mean, if they're a tech lead for the site, it seems that could be a possibility. Again, not dictating it should be.
I don't have enough information to give a good answer to that question at this time.
Ryan or Laura?
I just, what's happening now? So the positions are, there are active positions. Are they solely focused on K through 2 or solely focused on 3 through 5?
So there's
at
a
the-
broad range of responsibilities that an elementary teacher tech lead has. Some of the things that they assist with are when teachers might be struggling with the student information system to produce the report card. They're one of the resources of expertise there. As we go to implement new hardware, such as the interactive screens, it's the teacher tech lead that can help teachers with the implementation of the new technology that comes their way in the classrooms. When different software gets pushed out, then it is an expectation that the teacher tech lead is going to be able to assist with the implementation of that software, working in conjunction with the site techs. So they work with the site techs, and then they also come to a monthly meeting and help kind of craft the vision for the district in terms of how we're going to use the educational technology in order to enhance the learning experience for our students. So there's a district level role that they have, and that's coming to the district level meetings to talk about the Measure A implementation plan. So our Measure A tech funding decisions that come before you, those are all vetted through a committee that consists of the teacher tech leads, the site techs, as well as the district tech staff. Then when it comes to the site level, the teacher tech leads are seen as experts in order to assist teachers that might have some questions about implementing the software that we've adopted, or if they have questions about how to enhance their instructional practice by using tech. They're the ones that have the expertise that can kind of share that knowledge and serve as a mentor to our teachers that are looking to use more tech. I hope that helps.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to add, if I may, this is Matthew Binder, Director of Ed Tech for the school district. First of all, thank you, Mr. Rogeman, for basically articulating it as good as anybody can. But I will also add that the tech leads serve in the capacity of supporting the software and hardware state testing tools that are also important in the spring, along with some of the other supplemental applications. And they are now participating quite increasingly. Their participation is growing because of the emergence of AI, and so we're having a real detailed conversation, and they provide a good point of reference and insight on new and emerging technologies in that regard.
Thank you very much for your comment. So we're at a point now with this item where we can, we've gone out for public comment. We didn't have, besides Mr. Binder as a staff comment, we didn't have any public comment. We can discuss this further as a board, or we can make a motion on it. Yeah, please.
Tiny question popped into my head, and I have to ask because it popped into my head. Do you know roughly, is each tech lead serving about the same number of people? We have 4, 1 at each site, right?
Yes, we have 1 at each site. I believe that the responsibilities are shared at the high school between 2 staff members, and they serve the greatest number of staff because the high school has the largest staff.
Yep.
And I believe the middle school has the second largest staff, and the elementary staffs are comparable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I saw like a hand go up in the back of the room. Was there was there a staff member who wanted to comment further on this? If you do, you have to get up to the podium so we can. Okay, okay. I just keep in my eye. Okay. Thank you. Okay, any further board discussion on this or okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the negotiated increase.
Okay. Anybody want to make a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Dr. Hazen, seconded by trustee Brian Swanson. Can we get a majority vote, please?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Next up is memorandum of understanding with PGTA regarding PGMS robotics / ROV stipend. And Director Ogerman, this is your item.
This is an exciting item to bring forward because we have a Pacific Grove Middle School robotics team that is currently functioning. Right now, what we have is a volunteer parent who is serving to coach the team. And the response from our students has been an enthusiastic one to the point where we've got multiple teams now at the middle school. I want to say 6, it might be 9. And they're going to host a competition at PG High School that local teams are going to be coming to on this Saturday from 2 to 5. Okay, that was a little bit of a plug. So this will establish a robotics stipend for the middle school. And that stipend is going to have the same pay rate as what is currently given to our coaches that are at the middle school of our sports teams. This position would get compensated this year in 2023, 2024. And once this memorandum expires on June 30th, this stipend will become part of the stipend list that is in the collective bargaining agreement in subsequent years. So this one is an adoption not only for 23, 24, but also going forward into future years. I think that the enthusiasm of the middle school students joining the teams, as well as the facility that is being used, the Flex Lab that used to be the wood shop, is a great space for this program. And a lot of thanks goes out to the parent volunteers that have, really made the robotics in the elementary and middle school levels a program of which we can all be proud.
Absolutely. We'll start with board discussion and we'll see how far we get. I want Laura to be part of it. So if she isn't back in that time, then we'll take a quick break to let Laura come back and contribute to the discussion. But Dr. Hazen, do you have anything?
Yeah, I love seeing these kind of items. So yeah, really excited to have more opportunities for our kids.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
Absolutely in favor of it. I've watched over the years as this program has really blossomed and seeing just more and more kids coming into it. No, how can you say no? It's great. Thank you for bringing it to us.
We actually saw some of that in action today at the middle school when we visited for the Measure D tour. So it was really neat to see. With that, we'll go out for public comment and see if there's anyone who would like to contribute their comment to this. Same as usual. If you're online, please raise your digital hand. If you're here in person, make your way up to the podium. We're all ears. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any public comments coming in, so I'm going to close that part and we're going to see if Trustee Otmar, did you have anything you want to contribute? We're talking about, no. Okay. With that, we do still have a majority of the board, so we can vote on this, correct, Lou?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've got our quorum here. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Also move.
I'll second. Okay. Motion made by Trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Dr. Adamson, do you mind?
None at all. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously with a 3-0 vote on that one.
President Swanson,
Yeah.
if I may, I never want to take for granted the relationship that we've established with PGTA and to be able to bring forward two memorandums of understanding, ahead of like a final tentative agreement shows great cooperation with the group. And I know we have our PGTA president, Laura Ligona, here tonight. And I just want to acknowledge the hard work that's done on their end to help us bring this agreement forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on now, I think, and so next item is our item E. It's complaint concerning instructional materials appeal. Lou, do you think we should take a break and wait for Laura to come back? Or do you think we should continue on? What do you?
Would be best if we maybe.
If we wait. Okay, we're gonna take, I say, last time I said 5 minutes, we ended up taking 10. So I'm just gonna say we're gonna take a 10-minute break right now and come back at 8:33 so that I'm accurate. And I'm gonna go check on Laura. I sort of failed my task, didn't I? I was in charge of getting. Yeah, do you mind? Well,
I can't. Oh.
thank you, Lyndon. Okay. So, we're moving on. We're back reconvened. Action item E, complaint concerning instructional materials appeal. And Director Rogeman, this is your item. Okay, great. We're all here. Please.
Thank you very much, President Swanson. This is a complaint concerning the instructional materials, and it's an appeal to the school board on a complaint that was made originally on September 5th.
Director Rogeman, I'm so sorry. I was supposed to read something before you started. I apologize.
That's fine.
Coming back from the break, I got a little discombobulated there. Thank you so much. So tonight we'll be hearing an appeal from a parent regarding the superintendent's decision regarding a complaint concerning instructional materials. We were provided a packet with documentation regarding the complaint and the decision, as well as an outline of the matter. We will first hear from a district representative familiar with the review of the challenged curriculum material and decision to explain the process that was followed and the interim superintendent's rationale for his decision. Director Buck Rogeman will make the presentation on behalf of the interim superintendent. The board may ask Director Rogeman follow-up questions. Then we will hear from Mr. Swires, who will have 3 minutes to make his statement to the board. The board may ask Mr. Swires any clarifying questions. Mr. Swires may make a presentation, as may other speakers who wish to address this agenda item. Mr. Swires' presentation and all questions asked of Mr. Swires by the board shall be solely focused on the issue of appeal. All persons who wish to address this agenda item shall also be given 3 minutes on this topic. The board may choose to deliberate on this item or may choose to deliberate at the end of the board meeting or on a subsequent date. Mr. Rogeman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, trustees. We first received a complaint about the instructional materials, specifically the book Dear Martin by Nick Stone on September 5th. It's part of the English 2 classroom curriculum and reading list. And we then went to Administration Regulation 1312.2, where we established a committee to review the material to determine whether or not it was suitable content for our English 2 class. By the regulation, our committee consisted of four teachers, 2 of whom were in the same subject matter as the subject that was being taught. It was 2 school administrators and then also 2 parents. That committee met on September 18th. All the members of the committee had read the book in its entirety to be able to address the complaint, which cited 70 different examples of words that the complainant found were objectionable in terms of the material that was being taught. When we convened, the committee was asked to consider the educational philosophy of the district, the professional opinions of other teachers, and the subject and of other competent authorities, the review of materials by reputable bodies, the teacher stated objectives in using the materials, and the objections of the complaint. The committee met and did consider that, and the findings of the committee were as follows. The committee found that the language used in the book was necessary to establish a realistic portrayal of the characters in the novel. The language realistically depicts the intensity of the violent encounters in the book. The language used in more casual conversations between characters established a realistic setting and authentic character voice. Language use varies among social classes. The language used in Dear Martin is similar to the language many high school students use in casual conversation with their peers. And the potential to discuss code switching or changing our language use based on social context is a valuable lesson for our students. However, the committee did recommend that the language denigrating female characters in the book be discussed with students as well. The committee further found the book is on the California Department of Education recommended literature list. The English department reviewed and approved the book. The English 2 syllabus, including the use of Dear Martin, was approved by the PGHS administration on behalf of PGUSD. So the final determination of the committee was that the challenged material supports the curriculum thoroughly, as evidenced by the teaching objectives and the standards being taught. The challenge material also supports the district's goal of supporting students in managing the dynamics of difference by allowing students to experience representations of different perspectives, discussions of equality, violence, internal conflict, confrontation, protest, discomfort, and the impact of stereotyping. There was unanimous support that the material is appropriate for inclusion in the English 2 curriculum. Dear Martin supports the district's educational philosophy, including the mission statement and goals related to equity, inclusive curriculum, and cultural proficiency. There was unanimous agreement that the material is appropriate for 10th grade students and above. The value of the content in Dear Martin outweighs the potential harmful effects of the language identified in the complaint. So the Pacific Grove High School English Department and Administration followed established procedures for approving the use of this novel, which is on the California Department of Education recommended reading list. So we gave the approval, and part of the appeal of the complaint was to have an alternative assignment given by the teacher. The district did not give an alternative assignment because it is part of the approved curriculum of the district and it's appropriate for instruction in English 2.
Thank you. And I will ask during this item and actually during the entire meeting, snapping and clapping is not encouraged or even allowed because we want everyone in the room to feel very comfortable making their comments tonight. Director Rogoman, did that conclude your statement?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you so much. Board members, does anyone have any questions of Director Rogoman? Dr. Hazen? Okay, all board members are shaking their head no, just for public record. Mr. Swires, hi. Do you want to get up and, okay, great. If you're ready to proceed, please feel free. We do have the 3-minute timer, so you'll see on the podium, it kind of looks like a stoplight.
Right.
It'll start with
used to it.
green. Okay. So when it hits red, I'll give you a gentle reminder.
Before I forget,
Yes.
the reason for denying the alternate assignment as described by Mr. Rogoman is a lie. It's not true. That is not why that was denied. And you have it in your packets, the reading of what it was. On 5 September, I submitted a list of over 70 profanities from instructional materials and a requested alternate assignment. On 6 September, your superintendent advised me that a family cannot opt out of curriculum based on your objections, but your objection to the curriculum is noted. On 6 September, I notified you and the superintendent that I was aware of the board policy 1312.2, paragraph 3. That's important. On 7 September, your superintendent stated, 1, the book in question is not being read until later in the year. It was actually 4 weeks. 2, the provision in the AR is meant to deal with an objection of materials currently being taught. That's not stated anywhere. And it's not even possible because that would pause the whole class until the book is being reviewed. 3, supplemental materials would interfere with the learning process of the class, the entire class dynamic, and the pace of the class. Nothing to do with the individual student that I requested for. On September 22nd, I received the superintendent's decision that no alternate assignment would be allowed because the structure of the English 2 course with extensive class discussion made instructional materials for a single student unfeasible. different than what he said on September 7th. This class was taught from 24 October to 9 November. However, my son was excused due to ongoing investigations. For 3 weeks during English class, my son sat in a conference room, spinning in circles in a chair because he was not allowed to do an alternate assignment. The principal did let him use a phone until an office staff member overruled the principal and said, if you can't do it in English, then you can't do it now. This week, I asked the administration if they were still denying an alternate assignment, since there was no longer a concern about missing extensive class discussion or ruining the pace of the class. Dr. Adamson stated she will not require the English department to offer an alternate assignment. Now the answer is clear. The entire process of 1312.2 is a farce. There was never any intent to allow a parent, let alone a Christian parent, to challenge your authority. There never was any concern over an alternate assignment disrupting the pace of the class. That doesn't even apply. Policy 1312.2 is a virtue signal at its finest, making it appear that you're offering an alternate for parents to seek an alternate assignment. You cannot tell me you honestly believe that a Christian parent would give their child these 70 words. You have the list, look at it. I definitely know a graduate of a Catholic private school knows that those 70 words would not be given to a child to learn. So, conclusion is you still have to give him an alternate assignment. The semester ends in 2 weeks. He was given excused absences from it. So you have to let him make up the stuff. And you have to do it within additional education requirements, what I won't discuss here. But Principal Garcia knows what that is.
Thank you, Mr. Swires. If you could wrap up in the next 5 or 10 seconds.
That's basically it.
Okay, thank you very
Sure.
much. Thank you. If you don't mind staying at the podium for just a moment.
I'm all yours.
Thank you. Board members, if you have any questions of Mr. Swires, please ask him now. It's unlike a typical part of the meeting where we typically wouldn't ask questions of somebody making public comment, but here in this item, we can ask questions back and forth if you wish. So if any board member would like to, please do. Dr. Hazen? No question?
At this time, thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Thank you. Trustee Otmar? Trustee Brian Swanson?
No questions. Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mr. Swires, if you would like to take a seat now, we're going to open up for public comment. So thank you for staying up there while we went through that process. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment at this time, it's the same process throughout the meeting. If you're here in person, please make your way up to the podium. And if you're online, please raise your digital hand. We will alternate between in person and online. We'll just give it just a moment. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm here as a parent tonight, Carrie Serpa, PG High School parent, 26-year educator. As a parent and educator, I've been pleased with the increase in diverse text offerings at PG High School. I believe it is important that all children see themselves represented in literature that they read and on the classroom shelves. Limiting access to literature does not protect children from life's complex and challenging issues. And in point of fact, diverse books can be used as tools to find common ground and empathy. While all parents are partners in the educational experience in our public schools, this small group of discriminating readers should not be making decisions for my child or limiting access to diverse books for all. I believe censorship comes from fear and the need to control children's lives. Perhaps people believe if children don't read about it, they won't know about it. But books cannot harm children. Hate, prejudice, and ignorance, now those things harm children. And giving alternative assignments to students is an unsustainable burden we should not be putting on our teachers or our staff. In closing, diverse books can be both windows and mirrors. Mirrors that may reflect a reality similar to our readers, and windows that allow the reader to see inside and find common ground. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I see an individual making their way up to the podium at this time. And Louis, you're letting me know that no one has their digital hand up, so we will continue on with our in-person comments. Please go ahead. If, perfect.
Hi, I'm Jessica Rogan, English teacher at Pacific Grove High School. I would ask the board today to support the Pacific Grove High School English teachers in their curriculum decisions. I have 2 master's degrees and a teacher credential in both English and social science. I take my curriculum building extremely seriously, and I think about it to the last detail. So you can trust that I thought about this book and all of the books I teach very thoroughly. And I ask that you trust teachers to do their jobs and support them in doing their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And with no one online with their digital hand up, we'll go to the next in-person comment.
Right. Good evening, Laura Lee Gona from the high school and the PGTA president. This is my 24th year teaching, and the vast majority of them have been in the middle school and high school setting. And I just want to point out the importance of reading texts that sometimes we find offensive or may make us feel uncomfortable. I challenge anyone to walk on to any of our campuses, but especially our middle school and our high school, or any high school campus in this country, and listen to the words that are used by our students. It is important that even when we're offended, we have an opportunity to sit in an academic setting and talk about these words, why they are offensive, when they are appropriate, if they're ever appropriate, what it means to code switch. We all do it. We don't maybe do it with using offensive language, but that idea for people who don't know what code switching is that we talk differently. We speak differently to our family, our best friends, when we show up to the bank, when we go to work. We all know what are appropriate settings. And so this is a really good opportunity for students to learn from each other and why this language might offend students around them, rather than picking on each other outside in the hallways. I also urge you to really be very deliberate in your ideas about when it comes to making alternative assignments for things. I will absolutely vouch for our English department. It is a very hardworking department that is considering everything they possibly can. And they put a lot of time and effort into this work, and it can't just be easily duplicated with another set of text. And that's really important that we are supporting the hard work that they are doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you. And we don't have anyone online with their hand up, so the microphone is all yours.
Okay, my name is Karen Gordon. I'm a retired teacher. I have spent more than 20 years teaching English, 16 of which was here in this district. And I just want to make a couple of comments. I had a little more to say, but many of us, the standard classics that many of us were raised on and that are still largely taught in high school English classes around the country contain just as many, if not more, objectionable language and disturbing images. Catcher in the Rye, Grapes of Wrath, 1984, Lord of the Flies, just to name a few. Besides, as noted in the committee's findings and as noted by Laura Lee Gaona, have you heard the language teenagers use on high school campuses, today? I think we could hear over 70 objectionable words just among the students talking to each other. And it is important that we as teachers talk about why those words and those images are offensive and what that means for the people who are affected. The other thing that I would like to point out is that this seems to be about intimidating teachers in questioning what they are teaching. And I know this English department, I've worked in this English department, and what I know about their intentions for including Dear Martin, and in fact, every book in our English curriculum, is to encourage students to ask hard questions, to have discussions outside their comfort zones, to grapple with the difficult issues, and ultimately to learn understanding, compassion, and empathy for their fellow human beings, which I think that is what Christians teach. That is what many other religions teach, Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists, is learning empathy and compassion for our fellow human beings. And that is our intention through the books that we teach in our English department. Please continue to support our brave educators in their endeavors to be more inclusive in the narratives that we teach in our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Would anyone else like to comment? Please.
Good evening, Lyndon Tarver, Monterey County NACP. As I sit here tonight and listen to the comments by Pacific Grove High School English Department, thank you for being brave to come up and encourage. As I read the narrative on Dear Martin, it cautions us about discriminatory practice and a functional society. I stand behind those teachers, and I think the book should stand as the teachers have selected. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. If there's anyone here tonight who would like to comment, your comments are welcome. We're here to hear them. If there's anyone listening online who would like to make a comment, you are welcome to do so. We're watching and waiting for your hand if you would like to raise it. Okay. I don't see anyone here in public making their way up to the podium, and we don't see any digital hands online, so we are going to close out public comment of this item at this time. At board, this is an action item, so we can bring this back to a closed session. I would recommend on December 14th, which is our next board meeting. It's next week, so that we can deliberate on this item. That would be where my recommendation is, but of course, I'm only one board member, so I'll go around and see what the rest of the board would like to do. So Trustee Brian Swanson.
That sounds like a good idea. December 14,
Okay.
right? Yes.
Okay. Trustee Otmar.
I'm supportive of that. Yes.
And Dr. Hazen.
Appreciative of all the information we've been given tonight, and okay, thinking on it for the 14th.
Okay. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do is give direction to staff to list this on the closed session agenda on December 14th, and there's no vote needed. Is that correct, Lou?
Yeah, it's deferred to deliberations will be held on the 14th.
Yes. So you agree with what I said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we don't need to vote on it, right?
No.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to the next item, which is action item F. I know Lou, you may have to scoot off to another engagement. Staff board, do we want to take a 3-minute break in case anybody else needs to head home, or do we want to continue on with action item F? Keep going? Okay, we're on action item F. Thank you very much, Lou. Thank you. Approval of Measure A, which is the Ed Tech Bond, Education Technology Expenditures. And this is a joint item with Director Matthew Binder as well as Director Louis Algaze. And Louis is the one helping our Zoom tonight. So we appreciate the double duty that you're doing. Small districts wears many hats, right? So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Swires.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll wait
Thank you.
for Matthew Binder online.
Yes, thank you, President Swanson.
Thank you.
Carolyn. Matthew Binder, Director of Ed Tech for Pacific Grove Unified. Happy to be here tonight remotely. As you can tell, I'm working off a stubborn head cold, so I'm COVID negative. That's good, but I thought it would be best to be on this side of the screen tonight.
Thank you.
I want to present to you the list as we do twice a year of technology expenditures that has kind of evolved over the last several months from the committee work as well as the work that we do here at the district level. And this obviously has been supported or endorsed by the committee with the input from our site techs, teacher tech leads, administrators. And so what we're doing here is essentially just presenting to you the work of the last, I'd say, 4 to 6 months of technology proposals, spending proposals that support our educational technology plan. Also wanted to share with you that we do present a visual that distributes or displays the distribution by categorical areas of technology implementation. And as you can see here, we've got a nice sizable amount of technology expenditures going towards student hardware. This is part of our Chromebook refresh fleet refresh that we started in 2021, and we are coming towards the end of the payments on that. Teacher hardware as well makes up a pretty significant portion of this list, and our ongoing data system renewals to support all the processes that are now technology dependent in the school district. With that, unless Director Algazi has anything to add, I'll go ahead and open up for questions or comments.
Thank you, Director Binder. Director Algazi, anything? Okay, Director Algazi shaking his head. Thank you so much. We'll bring it to the board for discussion, then we'll go out to public comment. So board members, anyone want to contribute? We'll start with Trustee Otmar.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't have any questions about it now. Thank you.
Dr. Hazen?
Just a high level question on the Chromebooks. I do remember when those came out. What is the life on those? When are you envisioning they'll need to be replaced again?
So there's some good news on that in that Google announced that they're extending their support for the current model of Chromebooks that we have and the Chrome OS operating system that is running on those devices for the next 6 years. However, given the wear and tear that we experience, and just as typical of Chromebooks that are used day in and day out throughout the school year, we anticipate renewing our planning for refresh probably within the next 3 years. We may move, we're considering, and we're having discussions and looking at different cost analyses with regards to potentially moving to a device as service model in place of outright purchase. This is something that we stated in the technology plan as a future goal. So we have some more work to do and some discussions to be done on that level. And we'll obviously be bringing that those updates and anything related to that to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson?
Only one quick question sort of related to what Dr. Hazen had asked too. Are you seeing the lifespan sort of meet the expectations that you had of the actual Chromebooks? Or are we just beating the tar out of them?
No, it's actually a good question. And truth of the matter is, because we are a one-to-one in class at school model district, we're seeing substantially lower damages and accidental events occur on our fleet compared to a lot of other districts that we're in contact with that send these devices home to students.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Great presentation, appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go out for any public comment on approval of Measure A, education technology expenditures. We'll give it just a second. We don't have anyone online with their digital hand up, and no one is making any moves towards the podium here in person. And board members, unless something further has jumped into your minds, we will venture a vote for this. So I'll make a motion to approve on staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Trustee Otmar. We get a vote, Dr. Adamson?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy first night of Hanukkah. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our last action item, which is board calendar, future meetings. Dr. Adamson, this is your topic.
Well, thank you very much. And there are really just really two proposed changes that I'm looking at as we look at the December 14th meeting. We had listed originally the LCAP update for December, but we're actually, we'll be moving that to January. So that would be one, change I'm asking you to approve. And then the second, we also had listed employee recognition for the month of December. As I'm learning a little bit about the traditions and how we've handled that in the past, it looks like we're moving away from that particular process and approach. We have so many talented employees within our district, and we have ideas and other ways of recognizing and acknowledging them as we head towards the end of the year in spring to tie in with employee recognition month. So those are the two proposed changes. We also have the CSBA policy update, but we will be bringing, I think we leave that there because we're bringing back many of the updates that we had in the November meeting for a second reading. So that will be on the agenda. So really just the two, LCAP and employee recognition.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any comments on that item calendar? Brian shaking his head. Laura?
I believe we were going to add CSBA board
Yes, we will.
comments
Absolutely. Mhm.
to the 14th.
Correct.
meeting
Yes,
for-
we will definitely be adding that to the agenda for sure. Yep. Thank you for that.
Other than that, nothing.
Dr. Hazen?
This is a minor one. I might just be my own ignorance, but do we need, I mean, we do have the board governance meeting as well. I don't think we need that on here because it's not a regular meeting, but I just wanted to,
Yeah, you're right.
that was coming up this next Tuesday, right?
Sure, absolutely.
just to
Yep,
add for
I'll
the
put it on
record.
absolutely for future. Yep. Of course. Thank you.
I don't have any comments on it. We'll go out for public comment and see if there's any calendar questions. This is kind of our routine calendar that we use. And then if you have a future agenda item, any member of the public has a future agenda item, we're going to have that as our last item of the meeting. So if anyone, member of the public would like to comment on board calendar, on this board calendar, please raise your hand or come up to the podium. Mr. Jordan, anything on calendar? No. Okay. I am imagining people wanting to raise their hand tonight. Sorry. Okay, we're going to close public comment. We don't have anyone looking like they want to engage in that. So we did have some changes proposed by Dr. Adamson. Shall we do, I'll make the motion to approve on staff's recommendation. If anyone would like to second.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Elliot Hazen. Majority vote, please.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Next, we're moving on to information discussion item B, which is the ABM Building Solutions LLC presentation on district efficiency study. Mr. Jordan, this is your item. Okay, but you have
It is
ABM
my
folks
item.
here. Yeah.
And I
it
will
is.
defer to Robert, who's going to provide a presentation. The entire presentation was included, all the slides are included in the packet. This is the third time we're bringing this item forward with ABM Group. The initial conversation was, well, early back in the spring when we were discussing efficiency projects that would align with Measure D projects. And then we entered into an agreement, master development agreement with ABM, and tonight he will be presenting the findings of the MDA.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you, trustees, for taking time today. And I also want to give thanks to all of the Pacific Grove Unified School District staff that helped us throughout the process. We spent a lot of time with a lot of staff, and no one was anything short of spectacular to work with. So I do want to make note of that. Special shout out actually goes to Phyllis Lewis in accounts payable. She supplied us with countless amounts of data very, very quickly. And it was just an awesome help, as well as John Anderson and all his staff. We obviously had to be on site several times, and they were always accommodating, available, and very flexible. So kudos to them for that. So quick reminder of who the original blue suits were that came to present back in May. So we have Derek Reichstein, our regional director. We had Kevin Wolf, who unfortunately came down with the flu last night, so he had to cancel. But we have his director, Todd Havilar, on Zoom in case any technical questions do come up. And we had Brett Lichtenthaler, our regional vice president, who also was not able to attend, but we have a substantial upgrade in Dr. Tony Rorik attending for him today. So I want to give a quick reminder. Last time we were here, we attended for the preliminary assessment feasibility presentation, and that was back in mid-May, where we asked the board for direction to move forward with a more in-depth review of the district facilities, as well as design and engineering of several infrastructure upgrades that the district could implement via California Code 4217. Since then, we have worked diligently with district staff and the administration team to evaluate and design these options. And when it was fully said and done, we developed, designed, and fully priced out over $40 million of potential improvements that were available. Our team at ABM invested between $150,000 and $200,000 of engineering and design costs, and we did that all at risk for the district in order for the administration to have all the data necessary to really make an informed decision as to which items were set to be prioritized for this project. And we have collaborated extensively with them to put together what we feel is the best scope of work, at least for the district to implement at this time. So like last time, I'll go through the different measures and different categories and just talk a little bit about what we developed and what we saw, and then as well as what we selected for a potential project for the district. Now, HVAC and mechanical improvements have always been top of mind since we started this process back in February. As we mentioned during the preliminary assessments, the district's concerns regarding indoor air quality were quite valid. Upon doing a deeper dive of the district systems, we confirmed that many units were past their useful life, and a lot of the building's designs were not conducive to an ideal ventilation profile. So in response to that, we fully engineered a plan to replace mechanical units throughout all district facilities, and in many cases, completely changing the type of unit that was there and the methods for which ventilation and outside air were brought into the facilities and how that air was circulated throughout the facilities. In addition, our controls team spent a full week on site looking and designing a building automation system that could be implemented for the district as well to increase that unit efficiency. So after very careful consideration, our team and district administration agreed that replacing all the HVAC units for Forest Grove Elementary was the best course of action for the district at this time. These units were by far the oldest units across the entire district, with most of them being installed in 1992, 1993. So they're 30 years old. ASHRAE typically lists unit efficiency or life between 15 and 20 years if they're well maintained. They can obviously last longer than that, but that's typically the standard. Adding mixing boxes with actuators to bring in outside air, MERV 13 filters, along with pairing that with advanced building controls would further improve indoor air quality throughout the high school. So it's not just a unit change out per se. In addition to Forest Grove, we recommend that all new units be installed for the K-Wing at Robert Down. Those classrooms happen to be more susceptible to heat. So having those units upgraded to include both heating and cooling is being proposed as of right now. And we're also set to make several ducting improvements that are necessary in those classrooms for that indoor air quality. Now, when looking at measures that save energy, LED lighting is typically at the top of the list. Therefore, we looked at all the lighting throughout the district and identified all the items that were not LED and established a plan to convert those. Now, this included interior lighting, exterior lighting, the lighting at the stadium, as well as parking lot lighting, just to improve safety around campus at night. We also looked at adding occupancy sensors throughout the district in order to save additional energy. In addition to that, the district staff made it clear that increased lighting levels were needed at the high school pool, so we also added that to our plan. Something that we paid a lot of attention to was the high school stadium. So stadium lighting uses a lot of power. So proper lighting at a stadium will also provide a safer environment, not only for athletes, but for attendees around the stadium and the community when used at night. Here on the slide, you can see a rendering that we developed showing what the new lighting would look like. We focused on designing a layout that was not only even throughout, but also meets the recommended light levels for a high school stadium. And everything that we developed in terms of LED lighting, we did include in this first portion of the project, this first scope that we selected. Some other areas of focus during our preliminary assessment were building envelope and water conservation. As we mentioned during our preliminary assessment, we did notice that there were aging buildings throughout the district, but there was also extremely high water use. And this led us to develop several building envelope improvements and conduct a detailed study on water usage. In terms of building envelope, we developed solutions that included door and window sealing, weather stripping, and the addition of polyurethane sealing for cracks found along district walls. We did include all of this in our scope, and we did do it for all district facilities, including the district office. As previously mentioned, area of water conservation, we did draw a lot of concern with how high the district water utilities were. And we evaluated a lot of measures in order to address that. So we looked at domestic plumbing improvements district-wide. We looked at artificial turf, irrigation systems, and even xeriscaping, also known as low or no water landscaping. And if you actually look at the section of the slide that shows what we actually included in the project scope, we only included the domestic plumbing improvements. And the reason for that is actually something that I personally love to see when we're out at a district. While we were developing the project, district staff not only located, but addressed and fixed several major leaks that we found during the water study, and they did that on their own before we even conducted our studies. And that really mitigated savings that were available from things like the irrigation system, the xeriscaping, and the artificial turf. So we only chose to do the domestic plumbing. And that's amazing because it allows us to therefore not have to spend funds on those improvements, at least not yet, and really move that into some potential areas that are more critical to district performance. One of the other topics that was brought to us by district staff as we did our original walks was the topic of energy resiliency. So as we know, there have been power shutoffs from PG&E, and that has forced the district to lose crucial hours of instructional as well as operational time, cumulatively amounting to about 6.5 lost days per year. So we evaluated several options to implement resiliency at the middle school, specifically to keep IT systems up, allowing at least operations to continue. And what we elected to do was to do a Generac natural gas generator, which would include a smart management module and an aluminum enclosure for its protection. And this improvement would allow the district to remain operational and be resilient against grid impacts. And there wouldn't be really a time limit. It runs on natural gas, so it could be hours, it could be days, you know, kind of whatever happens, right? And in addition to the resiliency item, we did run into a piece of critical infrastructure that truly does need attention. The main electrical panel that manages all of the power for the high school is in need of replacement and relocation. Optimizing that existing system is imperative, as a failure could cause significant power outages across the entire high school campus. And for the nature of the scope and just how critical we determined it to be, we did include both those items into our scope. So I know that was a ton of information, and you know, forgive me for how busy and text heavy these slides are, but I did want to give a detailed summary just to tie everything together and provide a little bit more detail. So like I mentioned originally, we developed over $40 million of potential scope, and we really worked with the district collaboratively to figure out what was the best course of action. So that being said, I mean, we can go over the slide. Sorry. So we can go over the slide. So for Forest Grove Elementary, replacing all the units, that includes 28 gas-fired furnaces and 7 barred units. We would implement high efficiency units, add mixing boxes with dampers to allow for proper ventilation and control of those dampers, and add MERV 13 filters throughout. We also want to replace the units at the K-wing, which are 3 natural gas furnaces, with 3 heat pumps. And those would also be high efficiency units converting from natural gas to heat pump heating and add cooling. It would also put us in a position to add ductwork inside of those classrooms for proper air distribution. In addition, that would come with an ADA requirement. So we've already allotted for $82,000 of ADA funds for the district to perform ADA upgrades at its discretion. We haven't really finalized what that would look like, but the funding is there. Installing a Pelican wireless HVAC control system for all the new units installed at Forest Grove and Robert Down. Now, Pelican wireless is a system that the district already uses. So we would reuse 39 of those thermostats, install 2 new ones, but also the important piece here would be install 41 economizer controllers and repeaters to make the units truly smart, not just the thermostat on the wall. So we would utilize the Pelican infrastructure that's there, add a few, but we would also upgrade the software and, very importantly, add control of ventilation and outdoor air intake through economizer controls. Demand controlled ventilation would also provide not only the ability to open and receive more fresh air, but also close the air dampers when necessary for dangerous smoke days, if they do occur. So just one more slide in detail and then we can move on. So as I mentioned, the LED lighting system district-wide, we would look to replace 1,022 interior lamps, 165 exterior fixtures, all 60 stadium lights, and add 203 occupancy sensors throughout the district. In terms of building envelope improvements, so we actually identified 16,776 feet of linear ceiling that needs to occur. So that's close to 3 miles of linear ceiling. Provide door frame weather stripping for 362 doors, door sweeps for 361 doors, and astrogals in the middle, just to improve efficiency all around the building envelope. In terms of domestic plumbing, we wanted to install more efficient domestic plumbing equipment for water savings. This includes aerators on the sinks, new toilets in select areas. Most areas, it was about 143 toilets across the district, flush valves, shower heads, and kitchen pre-rinse sprayers. As mentioned, the generator at the middle school for resiliency, it's a 30 kW generator to provide power backup for the IT systems at the middle school. The new electrical panel at the high school, which again, replace and relocate the main electrical panel, and the full switch gear there is 2,500 amps of power. And that is very important. And last but not least, replace 7 existing natural gas stove and oven appliances at the middle school with electric oven. So as you can see, there's a lot to be done in this recommended scope. So move on. So now that we've established what the proposed scope does look like, we can go ahead and get into the finances a little bit. And the cost to complete all the specified scope mentioned in the previous slide is roughly $5.67 million. And I will let Mr. Jorn discuss the specifics of the funding and how that fits into the program for 23-24. But I did want to take a moment to also point out potential savings to be generated from these improvements. So performing these upgrades is expected to generate about $367,000 of savings year one, and over a 15-year term, and with agreed upon utility escalation rates, which were conservative, it's set to generate about $7.4 million over the course of a 15-year term. Effectively having the program self-fund, but also generate $1.7 million of unrestricted general fund relief from utility savings and operational savings. And this is, of course, in addition to the improved learning environments that would be created for students and staff upon completing construction. In addition, I do want to point out that this price that we provided for the district is guaranteed. So ABM will not file any change orders unless, of course, a change order is requested by the district. So for example, if we were on site and the district staff wanted us to do additional work for efficiency purposes or an emergency, we would be happy to include that. But other than that, there would be no change orders to this project. In addition, ABM would guarantee the energy savings and provide an annual measurement and verification report for the district and the board to validate performance on, and we do that for the first 3 years. Now, I will defer to Mr. Jorn to provide a financial overview as to how this project would fit into the plan.
Thanks, Robert. So a lot of what's been discussed tonight and what was included in the master development agreement, in fact, most, if not all of it, were associated with Measure D projects and original scoping for the Measure D bond series. Going through here on this slide, we've got a couple of things I want to mention. We have $774,000 in carryover funds from Series A this year. We did just sell a bond, Series B. It is now in county treasury, which equates to just over 6.3 million. So you can see that we've got just over $7.1 million associated with Series A residual and Series B current Measure D funding. 2 projects that we needed to complete this summer specifically were to complete Forest Grove Elementary School's Building B, C, and D, and Pacific Grove High School Building E and F, and that's what we did last summer, the gutters, the roof, paint projects, and so forth, working on building envelope. That would leave us a remaining budget of around 5.3 million, just over 5.3 million for this fiscal year. Of course, if we have a proposed award and an award is given to ABM under 4217, that's 5.6 million, which would leave us with in the negative of around 288,000 in Measure D funds. We still have Fund 40, we have Fund 14, and at the bottom there, I can mention the fact that we have $16.9 million, almost 17 worth of Measure D authorization for future projects. I think that what the board needs to consider is that this is a really great delivery method for this school district with guaranteed operational cost savings. That's massive for our district. I mean, you could see over 7.5 million over 15 years. This is not my first time bringing a 4217 project forward to a local educational agency. This is my fifth. Every one of the projects I've ever brought forward, all of them had an associated guarantee associated with the cost savings. And it's funny, we've never really hit that point at MCOE. At one year, we did really have a very close year where we were expecting a check from that company, right? So if we're guaranteed $367,000 and we came in at $300,000 in cost savings, they send us a check for $67,000. That's pretty much how it works in a nutshell. I did many projects with Chevron Energy Solutions in the past. I have many districts that I've worked with in the past, not worked for, that have worked with ABM Group. And that's why I brought ABM Group forward back in February.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. And by the way, it's either a check or in-kind services for maintenance. You can pick. Awesome. So 4217. So this is actually a slide that we did bring forward during our first presentation, but I thought I'd bring it back just one more time. So as a reminder, and it's a shame our attorney left, but California Code 4217 is legislation that allows public entities to enter into a range of energy efficiency services when it's related to infrastructure. And in essence, it allows a public entity to single source into an energy contract as long as the anticipated cost for that project is less than the anticipated cost savings to be derived. And as we saw a couple slides ago, this project does just that. And there are many advantages to using this procurement method. By going through this process, the district has been able to select a partner that they feel provided the best value. And we have been able to design the project in a truly collaborative manner. We take our direction from the district and the staff, and we look at what they ask us to look at, and we include what they ask us to include. It's not a design and here you go out to bid it, right? So by selecting and working with a turnkey partner like ABM, the district has avoided large design fees, as we've done all the engineering upfront at risk, and the extensive internal labor that accompany the low bid process. As the design process is now complete and the savings requirements have been satisfied, there are just a couple more items that we do need to complete in order to proceed in compliance with Code 4217. The first would be to obtain a positive opinion of council, who just left us, but that is in process. We have sent them a draft of our terms and conditions. They have sent back comments and we're working through those comments now. And the second would be to issue a public notice at least 2 weeks before public hearing, before the project becomes awarded, which we're targeting for ideally January 11th, if the district decides to move with that position. So those items would allow us to stay compliant with the legislation's requirements. So as Mr. Jordan mentioned, he's done this a few times, but I wanted to make sure to explain it just once more for everybody who's here and who's watching online. Now, in addition to the benefits for the district that we've already discussed, this is an energy efficiency project after all. So if we were to implement the project, there would be some environmental benefits for the community as a whole as well. So to quantify that impact, what we did is we took the savings that we calculated for this project and put them through the EPA calculator, and that allows us to generate some greenhouse gas equivalencies for emissions. So I will note that these are not cumulative, but it's a fun way to just see the project from a different lens and different methods of impact for the community. So 43.8 million self-loans charges. That was a big number, but so in closing, so our team has had the privilege to spend a lot of time here at your staff and at your facilities. And during my first presentation here, I mentioned that our team would love the opportunity to help the district achieve its infrastructure goals. And after several months of work and collaboration with staff, we feel that we're in a position to help you achieve some of them, not quite all. But what we did say is that completing our MDA process would put us in a position to deliver the district a fully designed project, one that had guaranteed savings, that would be fully engineered and have no change orders, that falls under California Code 4217. And with the help of the amazing staff here, I feel that we've accomplished that. So we have focused on the improvements that were of the priority, the highest priority for the district for a multitude of reasons, and those that would generate the most savings for the district because those are the best to do first. So that being said, I know that district administration would like to ask the board for direction on whether or not to move forward to the next stage of our process, which in this case would involve us preparing a final contract for the district to review and then bring that item and that contract back for action on January 11th for the district to decide if they would like to proceed. And if so, we can begin construction early next year. So with that, our team welcomes your questions and thank you once again for your time.
Thank you so much. We'll start with board comments and does anyone have any questions for Robert? I'll start with trustee Otmar.
I do. Thank you for that presentation. That was very thorough. I really enjoyed that. I have a couple of questions. So our buildings are older and improving air quality. But I think you touched on this, doing some updating on like the building envelope so that we're not, filtering the air and then we're getting pollution that's coming in. So that's in the scope, right? Like
That's correct.
seals on the windows.
So
and-
ceiling, so 16,000 plus feet of ceiling for windows, doors, as well as cracks and holes that we found through the district. That's included. And there's a couple things with that. So not only the pollution and the air, but also a lot of people upgrade HVAC units and building envelope or insulation isn't up to par. And that just leads to your units decreasing in performance much faster and working much harder to maintain the space cooled.
Okay.
So yes, that is included throughout all district facilities.
Okay. And then as far as the MERV 13 filters, those were in, I believe that was happening at Forest Grove. Are there filters going into other classrooms as well, the MERV 13s, or are they just non-existent there now, or what's?
So they're not existent, but they're not existent elsewhere either. We didn't include the MERV filters in the scope because we're not replacing the units. We can definitely something as simple as filters. We have all necessary counts. So again, one of the benefits of us actually designing and fully engineering and pricing out, again, $40 million plus is that we have a lot of scope to choose from. So we could absolutely make modifications before any kind of contract is reviewed or finalized based on district direction. Something as simple as filters is pretty easy to add.
And then as far as air quality within the classrooms, I'm assuming this is an assumption that there was air quality testing that happened in the classrooms, or what?
Yeah, so we looked at CFM, but not only that. Unfortunately, in several of the locations, particularly like the middle school or Robert Down, it was very limited to almost no outside air. So testing wasn't really required because we weren't really having to measure. We knew it wasn't conducive to a proper profile.
Okay.
So that was a concern.
And then just a couple other questions. So how long for the completion of the project? And then with that, I'm assuming it would be pretty loud as well, that if you're working on ducting and ventilation and all that. So is this something that's happening during the summer months then when kids are not on campus?
So absolutely. So we would plan for summer months depending on the piece of scope. For example, building envelope is not very invasive. We could look to work during time that kids aren't around. Pretty straightforward. Same thing with like the LED lighting, right? We could plan around activities. As far as the time frame, the biggest concern would be something like Forest Grove or Robert Down with the HVAC units replacements, because we do have to go to DSA and get all those approvals. So we would try to do it as quickly as possible, but it's definitely a possibility that piece of the scope wouldn't be able to be fully completed and installed until the following summer. So not this upcoming summer, but the following. And it really depends on the DSA approval process. We've already done design and engineering and we're good to go. So, but it really depends on what that process looks like. But we would be looking to expedite everything that we can that's readily available, like the building envelope, lighting, water conservation, all that we could jump on right away.
And then this last question is just out of curiosity. Why replace gas ovens with electrical? That's just sort of, I looked at that and I thought, huh, I love my gas oven. And that's probably just from,
So as a big cook, I love my gas range and I wouldn't want to change it. But for the school itself, it's just more efficient. It plays to electrification. But that's the reason we only chose the middle school, because the high school culinary program is a little bit more involved.
Okay.
And so we stayed away from theirs because gas could not be changed at the high school, but that was a big reason for it.
Can I dovetail into that really quick too?
Oh, yeah.
The other rationale for that is the off-gassing of gas in indoor facilities that don't have range hoods. So
Oh,
at the high school, we have range hoods for the gas ranges, and at the middle school, we do not.
okay.
That is correct. Thank you. Forgot about that.
And I lied, so here's one more. The Generac that's being installed at the middle school, is there any talk of, and I know that that's just because it's the hub that's there. We lose power so often here. Is there any discussion about putting generators on any other campuses so that we're not losing school days?
So we've discussed it with staff and we've discussed multiple options. We've also discussed doing, a solar rollout with batteries. But luckily, Mr. Jordan's actually more informed than most. You really want to tackle the efficiency first. A lot of places and even a few districts that we're working with right now, it's being very difficult to actually implement a good 4217 program. They don't even have lighting on any of their locations, but because they overbuilt their solar and they're producing so much energy, you can't justify an energy project. And so that was one of the first things that Mr. Jordan mentioned, said, I don't want to look at solar yet until we're more efficient. And I said, great, because that was going to be our recommendation. So we've been discussing it. It has not been added or developed, but if there are any additional places you want us to look, we can obviously do that for you, but it has not been planned, at least yet.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Alvar.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
This is more of a question for Josh. You mentioned a number earlier today about windows, which is sort of it's like an impossible figure, I think. Didn't you say 15 million?
Yeah, 15 million to retrofit the high school campus, for
Just the
example.
high school.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So part of what we're talking about here, as far as our windows, of course, is keeping the windows, because just the other thing is just not, but making them better, sealing everything up. And
Yeah, I think the initial thought here, I know because we've had a lot of conversation about this, was to kind of the low hanging fruit, the most efficient, projects that we can implement that generate the most cost savings to the district, because that's why we're looking at a 4217 award. But that doesn't necessarily mean we aren't going to be looking at the higher hanging fruit as we progress forward, right? We have $19 million worth of Measure D funds accessible to us. There's other associated ways we can finance projects. I mentioned certificates of participation, which is general fund debt, in lieu of voter approved debt. So moving forward, and as Robert mentioned, they've sourced about $40 million worth of projects for us. I'm looking at this as if we're looking at potential phasing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all phases will be 4217 award phasing, right? A lot of the engineering and the front end work was done by ABM to help us support projects for our district, not just now, but for in the future. And I think right now what we're trying to do is just, again, take that low hanging fruit that produces the most cost efficiency to the district, the most reduction of our operational expenditures, and implement that now, with the future goal of continuing down this path of more operational efficiency projects, but tackling some of that kind of higher hanging fruit that's a little bit higher of a financial target for us.
okay, right. And I may have asked this question when you guys first came. Does ABM actually, like, how big is the team? Are you actually doing the work yourselves too? Are you targeting these things, designing it, and then bringing in a contractor to do this?
It's a combination. So some of the work is self-performed. We do bring in subcontractors for for the other rest of the work. They are completely under MSA with us, and a lot of times, actually, in this case, all the time, it's contractors that we work with regularly across California to make sure that we can deliver the appropriate level of work. But the benefit to the district is, at the end of the day, ABM is fully responsible. Your contract is only with ABM, and we're the ones that have to make sure that it meets or exceeds your expectations and standards.
Great, thank you. That's all.
Just Dr. Hazen?
Yeah, most of my questions were answered. You guys did a great job there. The one, and I think I know what the answer is going to be here, but in terms of the prioritization for all of Forest Grove, awesome. K-wing only of Robert Down, knowing there's also some boiler issues, I think, back in the day. And then I know we've heard about like the high school too, that there's some areas where the heat has not been functional. Is that a separate effort to replace those, or is that part of the operation? Yeah, there's probably more for Josh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's other projects that are taking place in the district too, right? So energy recovery ventilators, that's not part of the scope of work. There's ERVs are going in at Robert Down. John's been working on those with Air by Design, so separate of what we're talking about here. So there are other improvements that we're looking at doing outside of this discussion. The reason why we shifted away from, for example, renovating or retrofitting the high school HVAC system was specifically because of, as Robert mentioned, we kind of have a high priority item related to the main switchgear at that campus.
Right.
I don't know if everyone's aware of it. We have massive water intrusion into that area. And this is something that's been going on for a very long time. So we basically traded off. Now, mind you, there's not a lot of cost savings and efficiency associated with the replacement of the main switchgear in a 2500 amp panel, which, by the way, also feeds a portion of Forest Grove. So we felt like shifting scope was more important to deal with that because it was a more high priority project and a safety issue for the district.
Accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple questions and then we'll go up for public comment. So, thank you for the presentation. The slides in the presentation were a little more robust than the packet slides. So staff, do you mind making sure that that presentation gets on the website? Because I think that's really important. It's better info. The one that you presented to us just now, it has some more specifics. Mr. Dorn, can you remind me, what is the dollar amount that triggers, or I'm trying not to use words that relate to guns, engages a bid process happen?
Right. So from the normal bidding process right now, this district has informal bidding. So anything above $200,000 requires a formal bid.
200,000?
There's kind of a multitude of issues related to bidding. So anything above $10,000 requires basically a bid, but we do informal bidding, which is called CUPCA, California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting. I bring the vendors list forward every year, and we have pre-qualified vendors that do work for the district under $200,000. From $200,000 in excess, yes, you normally go out to bid. However, 4217, Government Code 4217 allows us to sole source a contractor. If by sole sourcing the contractor, we are generating operational expenditure cost savings.
Okay. Like this.
Just like this. Yep.
Okay, got it.
In fact, I'll just mention any solar project that you've seen in our county, and when I was at MCO, we were the first in the county, was a 4217 project. So it's as Robert mentioned, it's about building a team effort to build a project without change orders, right? So that's why 4217 is such a phenomenal vehicle for a project such as this. It may not work for building a stadium or doing an addition to a campus or doing roofing work, but it does work for a project like this because what we're targeting are operational efficiency cost savings.
Okay, thank you so much. My last question is, so the gas generator at the middle school, I am not an expert in this realm. This is your expertise. But the idea of a gas generator on the roof of the middle school does not settle well with me as a community member. And so I just want to ask about that and bring that up and we talk about it because I have a feeling there might be somebody else out there who goes, yikes, a gas generator. We're all trying to move away from gas, number one. So is this something we can lease versus buy? Does it have to be gas as the fuel? If there is a disaster, the gas line's going to go down too. That generator is not going to be helpful. And it's on the roof. So tell me how I should feel comfortable with this. Is it only going to be on? Is gas only going to be running through it when students are not in the building? Or is it like putting an enormous gas bomb on top of our middle school?
Well,
I know it's a silly sounding
It's not.
question,
No,
but
it's a great question.
it scares me.
It's a great question. Every single mechanical unit that sits atop rooftops on this district, as well as any building, commercial building, they're all gas powered.
Okay, so we've
So
already
it's-
got the gas.
The gas is there,
Okay.
right? It's natural gas, right? And
Okay, it's
Yeah.
something that we're used to.
You have,
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, Robert can speak to this a little bit better than I can probably about the actual generator that they're specifying, but there are safeties, there's, you know, there's shut off valves, shut off switches, multiple in line, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
that was gonna
Just
be
so
my
we're
answer.
saying it out loud, like this generator is a gas generator. It's gonna go on the roof of the middle school.
They're also, it's mounted with seismic, you know, mounting so that there's, and you have seismic, oh my gosh, I'm losing the term right now. On the gas line itself, you have seismic breaks. That's not the right terminology, but basically seismic breaks, just like you would in a building if there's an earthquake, so that the line will not break. These are things that are part of Title 24 compliance now for
Okay, I had a
installation.
feeling you would know
Yeah.
more about this with my layperson question, but I think it's important to talk. Seismic expansion.
Seismic expansion, Joe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for answering and entertaining my question. And then let's see, I feel like there was, oh, the cost avoidance savings. That is a term that I would just like, just for the public as well as everybody here. Can you just give me an example of a cost avoidance savings? Because it sounds like a gimmick, right?
So, yeah, so to give you an example, I think I'll drill back to the electrical panel at the high school. So the electrical panel at the high school currently has water running, groundwater coming in behind it and on the floor. So you can imagine 2,500 amps of current with water is usually not a good mix. If that electrical panel were to fail, the entire high school would be without power. Even in an emergency scenario, right now, it's taking between 18 and 24 weeks to get any kind of switch gear. It's running 50 to 70 weeks for any standard project. So that would make it so that the high school would have to spend 4 months or 5 months of on-site generation and staffing just to keep operations going. In addition, just given the status of the current infrastructure, there's several studies, one done by Pacific Partners, deferred maintenance compounds at about 7% per year, year over year. So every year that you don't complete some of these upgrades that we're talking about, like 30-year-old units or electrical panels or so forth and so on, that is compounding. And what we really wanted to avoid when working with the district is to put the district in a position where they're making these replacements and making the adjustments on an emergency basis or as a need basis. So multiple data shows actually that responding to an item on an emergency basis, the rate is $4 to 1 due to delivery costs, material costs, expediting fees, as well as a disruption to the district.
I see.
So all
So
of
you
those
have a
things
way to
compound.
track that. You have a way to track the avoidance of the, the reactive kind of repairs, the
Right, and-
emergency repairs.
And one last point, so sorry. The
Yeah.
other thing is, so Department of Energy, California Code 4217, not only allow but encourage cost avoidance savings because of the positive impact that it has. I mean, the federal government and even schools in California do tens of millions of dollars of work using cost avoidance savings every year. And so that's what we base it off. And that's why the positive opinion of council is so important here, because they can interpret Code 4217, look at the savings profile, and without that opinion of council, we can't move forward. So, we take a very conservative approach to that. We actually only took cost avoidance savings on the HVAC equipment replacements and the electrical panel and nothing else.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing where we avoided. The other thing is we did do a 9% utility escalation rate in order to account for savings. But 2 weeks ago, the California Utility Commission approved a 22.5% increase for PG&E customers.
Okay.
So just having the district enter into a savings agreement at 9% escalation, when we already know that year one baseline is going to be 22.5, is a pretty good position to be in.
Thank you. So with that, we'll open it up to public comment. It's 9:46, by the way, so I think we're gonna end right at 10 tonight.
Apologies.
So, is there anyone online, Louis, who's wanting to speak? And if there's anyone here in the public, please make your way up to the podium. Now is the time.
Okay. My name is Metin Sertunç. I'm a professional mechanical engineer. I have a couple of titles. I don't know anybody's interested or not. I'm a certified energy manager and a professional building commissioning provider. So all the things that you guys mentioned, nothing is, you know, like everything makes sense to me. Thank you very much for doing that study. As a parent, as a mechanical engineer, I like to see your detail report a little bit better before I make some comments. And also, I like to work with the board to train you guys what all these, you know, numbers mean, if it is possible. Personally, I walk around school sites and I see a lot of things that affects the indoor air quality. Like I have been in PG middle school gymnasium last 2 years coaching the basketball team. I never seen that ventilation system work. And recently I saw one of the BART units, you know, replaced with the split system. You know, I like to see what you guys find actually. And I see that there are a little bit more priorities to improve the indoor air quality. And as you mentioned about the switchgear, I don't know, you guys need to wait for it. You need to replace it right away. Otherwise, you know, you are gonna have like, you're not gonna have a school, pretty much. So before you approve I mean, you guys did a good job. I like to review it a little bit more and make my own opinion. And also, I have been, you know, my business is related with the HVAC, plumbing, and fire protection, building commissioning. So I deal with the DSA all the time. You guys ask excellent questions, by the way. But we need to answer all these questions for the public. And we need to train PG residents because our children deserve better. Because I don't understand why we don't have a MER13 filter not in place right now, actually, because CDC recommended this during the COVID. And ABM is saying that we don't have it. We don't have any ventilation, you know. So I don't think that's a healthy environment for our kids. So, I mean, we may need to, I mean, obviously board's decision. I think my 3 minutes is almost up.
Thank you.
Board decision. I may give you guys some kind of report free of charge. So you can ask the ABM and hopefully you will have a better contract. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saratunj. Mr. Saratunj brings up an interesting point for me because this is bond money. It's a significant chunk. It's almost an entire series of our we have 4 series. It's almost an entire series of bond money. Would it be possible to I don't want to derail the progress we've made with ABM. So I'm trying to think of, and so I'll just put it out there, like, how can we continue progress, but also address community concerns and communicate out to the community regarding this precious bond money and detail how, we've done our due diligence, that we're not just saying yes and being lay people and, asking the best questions we can think of, but that we've actually put something together so that the community can give input. It's like, we just got back from CSBA, like every breakout session you go to, they're like, how are you involving the community? How are you involving the students? Like, how can we do that? So do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so nearly every single project that's been listed in ABM scope is part of the prioritization list and reprioritization list that was presented and approved by the board for Measure D. Some of the dollar amounts clearly have changed. So Robert went through kind of a schedule of values tonight and showing the community and the board what areas they were going to focus on, but didn't assign a dollar amount, like to break apart the 5.7 million. I mean, that's something we can very easily put together. For example, we had, $1.5 million to address HVAC. I mean, I'm using the air quotes because it's like, it really didn't focus on what campus, what does that actually mean when we're addressing the HVAC issues within the district?
Yeah.
If it's 1.5 million, I can tell you we have $10 million worth of problems related to HVAC. We just talked about 15 million worth of windows. So, the reason why we're looking at the use of bond funds is because the scope of work falls within Measure D. There was another solution, which I actually presented, I think in May. We talked about a certificate of participation. The issue with the COP right now, which is general fund obligation debt, is that the COP rates are very, very high right now. Like COP percent is basically you're borrowing money and you're paying 7 to 8% to borrow that money. And it's general fund debt. So that's why, and again, we would do that if these projects did not align with Measure D scope already as previously defined. So I think when we, in our next steps, if the board gives us direction, we'll have a schedule of values developed, it's an exhibit that accompanies a project contract. And then we can take that schedule of values and report to the community. This is exactly how those dollars are going to be spent, which aligns with the Measure D approved priority list.
And would we be able to see, I'm assuming that all the work they did is public info, or I'm assuming that, I don't know if it's accurate. Would we be able to see a more detailed report from ABM to kind of go along with our Measure D funding? Because we're actually, we're in the process of surveying the community, to try to extend our bond. And so this is very important. It's important to me. I'm guessing it's, it's important that we're being really transparent with our bond money. So I don't know. That would be your guys' decision to make, but I would like to request that, more information, more details. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so what we're asking for today is direction for the staff to proceed to have us prepare essentially the contract, right? The contract will have the scope of work, exactly how many of each item at each campus, and then dollar values that can be associated to each campus or area. And just for additional clarification, when we met with district staff, we literally showed the entire $40 million and it literally said Robert Down, mechanical upgrades, $350,000, building envelope, district office, $30,000. And we literally went through like a menu and picked out the best scope that would fit essentially the budget. So that's how we've done the process this far, taken direction from district staff. So we would be able to provide that will be broken out if need be.
I mean, I can definitely tell there's been a lot of time put in, but besides just like, I guess I'm curious, and I'm curious, like, how did you get there? Like that information, like, were you testing the air quality? Like Laura was asking, were you testing the air quality? And that's how you got to the HVAC part, were you testing, it sounds like the water, what made you provide that scope list? Do you have that, Josh?
No, well, what made us provide the scope list was like I've said multiple times tonight. So we looked at what projects would generate the most efficiency for the district and operational cost savings offset. And we looked at, for example, we took Forest Grove, right? We didn't need to do air quality testing in Forest Grove to tell us that we're probably getting less than 1 effective air change per hour at Forest Grove with the existing system because it was built in the 90s. There's another issue with this system at Forest Grove, which there's a potential for like combustion within the classroom and you have off-gassing in the classroom. So when we looked at all of the campuses, we targeted specifically like the most aged out equipment. And by replacing it with something new that's more efficient with a high SEER rating and mixing boxes and so forth, it would generate the most cost savings, but also give us the best air quality in our classrooms.
Yeah.
Based on current standards.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand. I guess I'm asking for more of, and maybe it's not possible, maybe I'm asking too much, but like the details that not just like someone who goes in and says like, well, this is old and this, like, cause I know you have way more expertise than just finding something old, so like what data did you like, where is the more detailed report? Or you can just say like, is it just that you kind of went in with your own expertise and kind of we're looking at like the lights, the water, the utilities. Maybe it's just that. Maybe perhaps there is not a more detailed report. Is there not a more detailed report?
So there's a more detailed report for each individual area of scope. For example, like Josh said, the testing wouldn't be something that we did, but we did an full engineering development of the scope where we know which unit we're putting in. We know what kind of mixing box and actuator and how much indoor air quality, right? Or how much, sorry, fresh air is being brought in. And based on the CFM rating of that unit, that's how much air is being blown into the classroom. And that's all determined by the equipment that we selected in order to implement. So we don't really need full like testing or before and after testing. A lot of the data is readily available by some manufacturers, like, you know, like for example, Robert Down, we're using Carrier, right? Carrier has the data as to how their machines, what their CFM rating is and how they blow, so forth and so on. But I mean, we're happy to put together, you know, with our director of engineering, and we can have a deeper conversation to answer those questions if they're to come.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We went to public comment. We've closed out public comment at this point. Any further board comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be giving direction on this item, right? Is my understanding.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one of my thoughts is it sounds like we have enough information that could be put together to move ahead with a contract that could also be reviewable by the public and still meet all these needs. So that would be the direction I think I would be leaning towards.
Okay. Trustee Otmar, similar or different?
Can you repeat that?
I'll try my
Late at
best.
night,
I know it is late.
like-
Just saying that basically that given, I mean, it seems like given the information that's available, we can put it together in the contract, which is the next stage that requires our action item. That information can be put together in such a way that could be reviewable by the public so that we could have information at the board meeting when we need to act on it. That was a lot less succinct than the first time.
It was just a test, Elliot.
Yeah, I know.
I heard it
Don't
the
make me
first
do it
time.
again.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think that there'll be plenty, I can't say plenty, but there'll be detail in that contract that is gonna explain a lot of what's gonna be happening. So, yes.
Yeah, and just to be specific, it would be nice to have the ability for there to be public comment at the time.
Yeah.
The contract comes back. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Mr. Jordan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, we're gonna do an entire presentation for contract award, where we'll go through more intricate details. I mean, as I mentioned before, like a schedule of values exhibit associated with the contract is something that breaks apart specific scope of work and itemizes it according to priority, but also according to how much, I mean, for example, I think the largest scope of work is associated with Forest Grove HVAC, right? They're gonna have to break down electrical, mechanical, all the costs associated with the installation. There's other costs associated that we're not really talking about. There's project management, there's soft cost avoidance here. So that's design costs, which they've taken the burden of, right? So I mean, that's another component we didn't really talk about. We effectively paid ABM $35,000 to build an agreement with $200,000 worth of engineering. Also built into the $5.7 million is additional soft costs that are not yet realized associated with the Division of Architecture review, California Department of Education review. There's a lot associated. Sorry, we have to vote on
10
that.
o'clock. Yeah. So as long as we get this done before 10:01, we're still within 10 o'clock. So, we do have another item, but it's future agenda items and we can push it to the next one. So, Brian, you didn't have a chance to say what your direction would be.
I'm ready to move forward. That's with the next step, which will give us more detail. And one of the things we've talked about a lot is communicating better, and we have an opportunity. Here's a great exercise or an opportunity to get better at how we push out that information.
Yeah, maybe it's a community meeting, maybe who knows, that's up to staff to decide and bring to us because you guys have the ideas on that side. So, so what I'm hearing is the majority of the board giving direction to move forward to the next step with ABM. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Bueno.
Okay. So Josh, you've written that down. Next step. Okay. ABM folks, thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Mr. Sertunch, thank you so much for being here, Mr. and Mrs. With that, adjourned.